Mr. Lawrence? Here. Ms. Mason?
Here.
Mayo?
Here.
Ms. Powell?
Here.
And Mr. Diaz here as well. I'm going to report out from our closed session that we just returned from. Item 7.1 was negotiations. The board may discuss negotiations and provide direction to the representative. We received information and did provide some direction. 7.2, anticipated litigation, conference with legal counsel pursuant to Government Code Section 54956-9D. There were two cases, and again, we received information. And then 7.3, expulsion of student 10/10-19 from all regular classrooms in Mount W Unified School District.
Madam President, I move that the board approve item 7.3, the expulsion of student 10-19 be expelled from all schools of the Mount Diablo Unified School District, and that student 10-19 may apply for readmission after Tuesday, June 5th, 2019. Prior to readmission, student 10-19 is required to participate in 20 hours of individual counseling to address anger management, perform 30 hours of community service, participate in California Offender Program services for anger management, and show evidence of a successful school experience with no suspendable infractions, earn 30 credits, maintain a 2.0 GPA or better, and have a 90% attendance rate.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. Sorry, first and a second. We'll go to the vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. So I should I neglected to introduce our short memory. Would you like, yeah, you want to introduce yourself? Yeah, where you from?
Hi, I'm Hanny. I'm from College Park High School.
Thank you for joining us tonight. You can comment whenever you would like. The only thing you can't do is vote. Okay, we are now at public comment. The public may address the board regarding any item within the jurisdiction of the Board of Education of the Mount Diablo Unified School District that is not on this agenda. These presentations are limited to 3 minutes each, or a total of 30 minutes for all speakers, or the 3-minute limit may be shortened. If there are multiple speakers on any one subject, the public commentary may be moved to the end of the meeting. Speakers are not allowed to use their time. So again, I always say we really welcome public comments, an important way for board members to get information from our community and employees. So we are limited in our ability to respond. Our job is to listen carefully, and we cannot respond or give information. We might ask a clarifying question, and we can consider items for a future board meeting. So just want to make sure everyone understands our demeanor while you're speaking. So we will start. So Walter Blair, our first speaker.
Hi. Actually, I'm Winston Ingram. I'm the president of Public Employees Union Local 1, ASME. Understand that these fine lady and gentleman behind me has been out of contract since June 2018. There's been discussion, I understand, but nothing on salary and benefits. A financial report was given to this board on November the 13th, 2017. That's 2017. Still, no talks of benefits and wages. Understand the district has created several consultant management positions. Even at negotiations today, there was no talk of economics for our contract. I don't know if this board is aware of this, but I'm asking, actually demanding, that you get your chief negotiator and your negotiating team to discuss economics for the CST contract at the next board meeting. That would, next negotiations, which is March the 11th. Thank you.
Carmen Toronis Torres.
Good evening, board members, superintendent. I have addressed the board, I think in January, about the frustration we have with those negotiations and some of the process that is being used now in the district. First, today at the meeting, we were presented with a budget information. Half of it was pretty much what was presented back in October. And the other half is, I think I heard it at the board meeting in January when I was here. So for us was another waste of time. But then something that I had not seen was this. It says our district priorities. The school, fund school services, it has teaching, counseling, nursing, library, visual performing arts, athletic, sports, after school programs, college and career prep. No disrespect to my colleagues, any of these people, but I don't see CST. I don't see bus drivers. I don't see maintenance. I don't see anybody. So we're not priority for the district. That's one. Then I also heard today at the meeting how the district is trying to retain good employees, people who have been here many years. I've been here going on 22. And we did a comparison with districts like Antioch, Pittsburgh, San Ramon, Liberty, Acalanes, Walnut Creek. There's only one position that comes second on the list. The rest, we come 4th, 5th, 6th on the list of salaries for CST. Then, I am complaining about the process that we are changing. Apparently, there is some reorganization going on at the warehouse purchasing department. It is on your agenda for today. We have requested to have an item pull one of the job descriptions last time, and we were told by the superintendent that it was just for information. So We waited, hoping to have the opportunity to meet with personnel, human resources. That never happened. Last night, I noticed that the position is back for approval tonight with some changes that were never discussed with us. The other thing that really brought my attention was that it says revised January 10. I don't know who revised that because we never met. Okay, another thing that I've been saying is that we have been, our members are working out of class without compensation. I have submitted timesheets to HR. They were returned to me saying that council had denied it because I don't feel we were working out of class. We went immediately on January 9th, requested an emergency meeting with the superintendent. We have not heard back. We sent another email early in February, and we were told that we already have a scheduled meeting set with the superintendent, and so my members are still waiting to be paid for that. We urge the board to please give a direction to the negotiating group to go back to the table and really talk money. I am done hearing and seeing presentations. If in fact there has been some management positions created, and then there should be money for us. And we're done being nice. We are done working out of class. I have asked my members, if it's not your job, you don't do it. I don't care.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Thank you. Belinda Newman.
Thank you. I am very concerned about the future of public education. Sadly, teachers, secretaries, special ed assistants, and other school district union members usually don't get the public support needed to avoid slashing the school budget and cutting jobs. That is partly due to the fact that there is a lot of misinformation out there. There is a widespread belief that because we are union members, we are paid exorbitant salaries. See for yourselves. You can look up annual salaries for all district jobs on the website. I only gross $32,000 a year, even though I am at the top step of my pay grade. Elementary schools no longer have vice principals, nor a secretary for the principal. Counselors are only part-time, and there are no longer school nurses. Those responsibilities didn't disappear. They went to other staff members. As an elementary school secretary, my responsibilities include that of receptionist, principal secretary, attendance secretary, and nurse. When a sick or injured student comes to the office, an office staff member must drop all other responsibilities to focus on that student. We administer medications to students who have asthma, ADHD, or migraines. We clean and bandage scraped knees and elbows. However, in the 3 years that I have been a secretary, there have been 2 broken wrists and 4 concussions. I've called 911 3 times to address severe asthma. We see at least 10 sick or injured students per day. Excuse me. In the spring, during allergy and asthma season, that number can double or triple. Do these sound like responsibilities office staff members should have? Some schools have nurses from outside agencies to care for students who require feeding tubes or catheters, or who have diabetes or seizure disorders. However, these nurses do not have to assist the office staff with sick or injured students not assigned to them. California is a very wealthy state. In a very wealthy nation, schools should not have to beg for money. There are plenty of people who will drop $450 a month to lease a luxury car, but they will fight tooth and nail against any bond measure which will cost about $3 a month if it is intended to support public schools. I don't have a problem with wealthy people. I have a problem with greed. I have a problem with anyone who claims that the majority of children are not worthy of a good education that will prepare them to contribute to society. This nation must come together to decide that education is important. We cannot increase class size. We cannot continue to slash the budget, or hours, or staff members. Enough is enough. The school board, the district, local politicians, and community members need to work together to find common sense, workable solutions to fully fund public schools for all, not just a select few. Thank you.
Debbie Hickey.
Good evening, Board President Durkee, board members, attendants, cabinet. I'm here to ask that you please give direction to the district negotiating team to come to the table with a fair wage. We feel disrespected at this point, we have come to the table with you being open and honest with expectations. We have been wasting most of our time this year, and we've been waiting for a year and a half and still have not talked about money. We hear that no talk of money, and we hear that there's going to be a shortfall coming this year. Are you, the board, willing to give up your salary and benefits to help your employees? Wouldn't it be so thoughtful and generous if you gave back to the employees that support your parents and your students? That would go a long way for showing us respect. Thank you for your time.
So I just have a first name, Denise. I think it's Ingham. Denise. Ingham? Yes, Ingham.
Good evening, Superintendent and school board members. My name is Denise Ingham, and I am a classroom assistant special education at Valley View Middle. I've worked in this district for 20 plus years. I also currently serve as a volunteer on the CSEA Bargaining Unit's Executive Board, as well as being a union steward on our bargaining team. This evening I have a couple concerns that I'd like to share with you. The first concern is with some of our members in CSEA being now told that they cannot attend the California Paraeducator Conference that is taking place next week in Sacramento, March 6th through the 8th. Several of our members have contacted us, letting us know that their site principals and our office managers have told them that the district has informed all schools that through June 30th they cannot send any staff to conferences because of budget cuts. I completely understand this. However, these members had already asked their sites if they could attend and were told that they could go prior to this district announcement. One member even gave registration information to the principal since the site once sent the paras and have learned that nothing had moved forward, so basically she's not going. My second concern is for what seems to be a lack of consequences for students that break school rules. More specifically, assaults on other students. One incident in specific happened last Thursday. I was told by several of my members at my site that a male student threw an apple at a female student. It hit her in the temple, by her ear, and was thrown with such force it exploded on impact. Many students are reporting incidents, but there doesn't seem to be enough follow-through, and many of our campus supervisors do not feel supported at all. Even teachers at our campus say that they do not feel safe. I had one just in particular this afternoon said, I'm not usually ever afraid. She says, I'm afraid. Thank you for your time.
Linda Ortega.
Good evening, Board President Durkee, school board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, and members of the audience. My name is Linda Ortega, and I am the Vice President of Medea. I want to take this opportunity on behalf of our members and the Medea Executive Board to thank you, the school board, for attending our annual Al Costa School Board Breakfast this last Saturday at the Pleasanton Hilton. Every year, Al Costa hosts the breakfast for all the local teachers unions in Alameda and Contra Costa County. The purpose of the breakfast meeting is so members of the teachers unions and local school board trustees to come together to form a partnership for the benefit of our students and our members. This year's theme is communication. which I find very fitting considering Medea has always had an open door policy of inviting district leaders and principals to call us if they have a concern or a question. As vice president, one of my goals is to try to resolve issues before they become grievances. This requires trust and open lines of communication. Therefore, I would like to give each one of you my business card with my personal cell phone number so that if you ever need to ask me a question or if you need to share an idea, I am available. Thank you, and I look forward to working with each of you as we build a partnership.
Matt, Trost?
I think you have it memorized by now. I've been supplied some information, and hopefully this will help. But in this Mount Diablo School District handout, it says that this tax plan for Facility 1 district is based on the premise that all costs involved shall be shared equally. Well, equally is, all the citizens here. And I hear these people wanting taxes, and I know that bonds get paid by property and such. And I'm all for, there being money for schools. I'm not here trying to stay out of this. The issue is that we're being charged a tax for the wrong code of property. I will pay more tax for our industrial land. I will pay more tax for the commercial land I own. I will pay more tax for the residential land I own. But I have not been able to figure out how to appeal this. And as per this handout, paragraph 3, appeals, exemptions, and reductions. I have been denied the opportunity to be able to address the board on these appeals. I've been down here twice at district office, tried to fill out the application to have the appeal be heard, been denied this. I have not been able to be supplied with even the law. I've been to the law library in Martinez, I've been to the law library in UC Berkeley. I've tried to find the Melrose law that actually specifically addresses these kind of issues. Because I find it very hard to believe that, there's going to be a law that says commercial land that's underwater has to pay this unit code. I mean, these things are generally to be discussed or to be brought about to a staff level or through a, some type of determination. And I think the determination is wrong. The reason I'm confused to the reason why this property got put back into this bond issue. I went through this whole process 25 years ago, did everything the school district wanted, and the property was taken out. If this property was not adjacent to our industrial land, it wouldn't even be here. We are guilty by association on this whole issue. If we weren't next to a marina, we would be coded as a marina. And if we weren't coded as a marina, it would be open space. And open space is specifically exempted right under your own application under appeals, exemptions, or reductions. And the county hasn't zoned open space. I really am at a miss to what information you all need to make an intelligent decision. And I would, be terrible to think that you all couldn't make an intelligent decision. I know you can. You're running one of the biggest school districts in the, around. So I know that it's there somewhere. So I don't know. I was really hoping that we can get some direction on how to do an appeal so I can be heard. So.
Have you contacted the county assessor? Because they're the ones that send out the bills, not us.
The
County assessor, Gus Kramer. He should be able to answer your questions.
The county assessor assesses a code. The code is then given to you, and you all distinguish the price for the tax per acreage based on its use. Right here, I can give you the information right here if you want it.
No, I can contact him and ask him. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That's all I've got to comment. Okay. We're ready to go on to recognitions and resolutions. And 9.1. Is resolution number 18/19-42, Women's History Month. California Ed Code Section 51204-5 specifically calls for instruction in the social sciences to include the study of the role and contribution to both men and women to the economic, political, and social development of California and our nation. Women have played and continue to play critical roles in the economic, cultural, and social spheres of our nation. So I'm just going to add a little. I was listening to Gloria Steinem this morning. Her book is out again, and so it just was a good reminder to me of the role that she's played in advocating.
We can barely hear you. Somehow that mic, that's
Okay, I was just commenting, I heard Gloria Steinem speaking this morning. I'm sure you wanted to hear that, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, just a good reminder of the history, and that's why this is an important resolution. So I'll just entertain a motion.
I will make a motion that we approve resolution number 18/19-42 for Women's History Month. Mr. Lawrence, you probably want to second that, don't you?
I did.
Second. Okay, wait. Second, it's first and a second.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're ready to vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you.
President Durkee, if I could just say briefly, and I'm sure Ms. Counts sees this as well, I think one of the more exciting things is even just during the time on my 6 years on the board that I've seen so much of this actually be incorporated into the classroom, and hearing my kids come home and talk about women leaders who previously had not been part of our curriculum, and it's kind of fun at the dinner table when I learn things. So I think we've really made some strides here, and I look forward to us continuing to do so.
Great, thank you. Okay, 9.2 is Resolution 18/19-43, Arts Education Month. Mount Diablo Unified School District proclaims the month of March as Arts Education Month and encourages all students to commemorate this occasion with appropriate instructional materials. Have a motion?
I move to approve resolution 18/19-43 in recognition of arts education.
Second.
The first and the second, we'll go to vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you.
Madam President, I would just like to recognize the many community arts organizations that partner with our schools and with our community to make sure that our students have access to arts.
Okay, we're up to 10.1, which is classified personnel, appointment of Director of Transportation.
President Durkee, Board of Education, it is my honor to recommend for the position of Director of Transportation, Bert Balba. Bert comes to us with a Bachelor's of Science in Electronics and Communications and Engineering. He has that from the Mapua Institute of Technology in the Philippines. He currently is the Interim Director of Transportation. He has experience as a construction manager in Mount Diablo Unified School District. He has also been a network technician. He is also 2 and a network technician 1. And he has also been a computer operator, computer equipment tech in Mount Diablo since 1991. And I can share Bert in his interview shared how whatever job that he comes to take on, He makes sure that he goes and he studies and learns any new field to make sure that he can master it and serve our students. So with that, I would like to recommend Bert Balba for the position of Director of Transportation.
Thank you. We have a motion?
Madam President, I move that the board approve Bert Balba as the Director of Transportation.
Second.
The first and second. We can vote. And that passes 5-0-0.
Thank you all for the opportunity you have afforded me. Look forward to continue my services to the district, providing leadership and guidance to our transportation department and quality service, customer service to our students. Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations. Do you have anyone with you tonight?
My wife's
Bring
here
any
with
guests?
me.
Oh, there. Yeah.
There she is.
Okay, so really fun part of our agenda we look forward to every time is we have our very brave student reports, and we'll start with our College Park.
So far, we've decided on our prom and junior themes, which our senior ball ideas are going to be mythical deity. Is this squeaking?
Yeah, a little bit. Turn it down.
And our junior prom is going to be Old Hollywood themed. We've also started planning our multicultural rally, and we've had over 20 plus auditions for that, so it's been super successful with student participation, and we hope it's going to do really good. And with that, we're also performing a multicultural rally at Holbrook Elementary for the students to see the performances, which is going to be the first year that we're doing that, so we're excited. We're really excited for it. We've also started planning our spring fling.
It's okay.
Turn hers off.
There you go.
And our spring fling is, we did one previously last year, but it was only open to the students of College Park. But this year, it's going to be open to the public, and tickets are going to be $2, and there's going to be games and food trucks and live music, and it's open to everybody, children and parents. And we're really excited for that because we've been working really hard, the whole class, like freshmen, seniors, sophomores, juniors, everyone came together to work on the spring fling, and hopefully it goes well.
Do you have any dates for these events? Or?
Spring fling is on May 10th. Our senior ball is somewhere in April. We really haven't kind of decided. And our multicultural rally is on the March 22nd, and I think we're doing our Holbrook walkthrough the Thursday night before.
You have no notes. You're saying all this without any notes. Very impressive. Thank you very much. Okay.
Good evening, President Durkee, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members, Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Claire McGinnis. I am the ASB president here at Northgate High School.
And I'm Gracie Benjamin, and I'm the ASB vice president at Northgate High School. Some past events that just occurred, we had Multicultural Week from February the 5th to February the 8th. And we had Spirit Days ranging from International Sports Day to Rep Your Roots to All Out Crimson and Gold, which are our school colors. And we had an all-school rally on Friday which hosted performances from various cultures and ethnic groups, including Vietnamese umbrella dancing, African dancing, Polynesian and Bollywood dancing, and even an impromptu dance-off by our beloved Broncos. Every performance was introduced with an interesting fact or statistics from each background in a trivia competition that was technically won by the sophomores, but seniors for traditional reasons. Also, that Friday was the Improv's 4th show of the year, and like the slogan suggests, they definitely kept things interesting and outside the box. Last Wednesday, February 20th, Northgate's women's soccer program competed against Montgomery High School, the second seeded school in NCS, though Montgomery pulled off in the last 2 minutes of the game, winning 2-1. But Northgate battled very hard and we kept it up. Wrestling this past weekend, senior Gage Metler and junior Cole Sanchez made it to day 2 of the state championship for wrestling, And then this past Friday, our leadership class had an opportunity to partake in the Concord Exchange at Concord High School, and I would love to give just like a quick shout out to them because they did such an awesome job, and our class truly got a lot out of attending, and hopefully next year we can get our entire leadership class of like 50 students to go so we can win spirit challenges. Alrighty, and events coming this week. For performing arts, our annual choir series, Musical America, kicks off this Friday night. The show dates are Fridays and Saturdays, March 1st and 2nd this week, and next week, the 7th, 8th, and 9th, and it all is for $10. All are encouraged to attend. I guarantee you, you'll be moved to tears. It is amazing to see the raw talent that comes out of this class. It is such a flawless, amazing program. I can't say any more good words about it. It's absolutely fantastic. 8th grade day is tomorrow, so Northgate will be welcoming all future Broncos to our campus. There will be fun introductions to courses, icebreaker games, and personalized tours given by our leadership and Link crew members. And it's sad to say that another school year has come and gone, and it's only February. And with that being said, elections for ASB and our rally officers are this Thursday. And though it's sad to leave this chapter of our lives, we're beyond ecstatic to see this new wave of leaders and see what they will do and see how they'll improve our campus. And leadership is planning a community service / bonding outing in April. It's looking like it's going to be April 20th on a Saturday. And we'll be volunteering at Buena Vista neighborhood at Auto Stairway, which is it's a garden there, and so we'll be volunteering, like sprucing up the area and gardening. And then we'll have a picnic afterwards for our class, as a final bonding opportunity. And then leadership is coordinating a parents' night out with Walnut Acres at Walnut Acres. And this was originally going to be back in December, but for reasons because there's already an event similar, we decided to push it back so we'll have more time to advertise and really get the word out there. And so we'll be teaming up with Walnut Acres Student Council to make this night fun, safe, and increasing interaction with our feeder schools. That's really becoming our priority now. Is we really want to get involved and make sure that it's really a sense of community. So it's not just Northgate, Foothill, Walnut Acres. It's all one fluid motion. And then junior prom is right around the corner, and it will be Saturday, March 16th at Eve's Waterfront in Oakland at Lake Merritt. The dance theme is Journey Around the World, and the junior class officers are asking the class of 2020 to submit photos of their travels for a slideshow that will be shown at the event. And because the juniors have put so much hard work in preparation, we were able to save thousands of dollars by not having an event planner and finding a restaurant owned by a Northgate family. And further, ticket sales are groundbreakingly low. They started at $60 with an ASB sticker and $65 without, and they'll increase $5 every week, but that is still groundbreakingly low. And it's all online too, so we'll have online contracts and online sales, so that you don't have to give your child a $60 check. I know my mom was always nervous about that one. And then major student projects coming up. So the freshmen have an iSearch project through their English class, which is well underway. And then this is the first year that all freshman English classes will be doing this project. In addition to a topic of the student's choosing, each student must put together a survey and get at least 100 responses to incorporate into their paper. And then the second annual sophomore If I Could Change the World project concluded an open house last Thursday, where all sophomore project groups presented all their research, including their service, education on their topic, and ways to get involved. Some of the noteworthy presentations was how sports positively impacts one's mental health. They also had a gift basket that was donated by the local restaurant Rocco's Pizzeria, and then they auctioned that off at the end. It was really fantastic to see how much these students knew. Their knowledge was so profound. And then the Threads Junior Roaring 20s party was on January 31st, where students simulated and designed a speakeasy where they conversed as a famous historical figure they had conducted extensive research and done a whole project on.
And then senior projects is well underway, and seniors are definitely not stressing out about those rapidly approaching deadlines like this Thursday. In addition to a minimum 10-page research paper, 15 hours of project work, and 5 hours of community service related to one's project, students must interview 2 experts in the realm of their question topic and create a website portfolio that showcases their entire project. And if you are ever at Northgate, I highly encourage you to peruse the senior project posters that highlight each student's question and then what they want to do with their project that's related to it. They all line our library. It's so interesting to see the questions they've come up with. I wish I thought of them myself. And then many of them are truly brilliant. And then one last final word is I'd like to give congratulations to our senior Alora Easton. She won the Contra Costa Youth Hall of Fame Award for volunteerism. She created a club on campus called the Brain Exchange, which is students helping students, and she tutors, I believe it's 8 right now, 8 different students in different classes, I think 3 different classes, and she's brought up their grades from C's to A's. So she's truly deserving of this award.
Good evening, President Durkee, board members, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, members of the Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Natalia Soto, and I am the student representative for College Now program. We're on the 7th week of our high school classes and 5th week of our college classes. We went to Sacramento State on January 18th and UC Davis on January 25th, which were really fun experiences. For the past 2 weeks, we've been having speakers in Avid. On February 8th, we had Whitney McCollum, which was a lawyer, both for the seniors and juniors. On February 22nd, last Friday, we had Richard Longo, which has a job and works for the government, and he is the father of one of our students. Today we had Sergeant Diaz, which is from the military, and we will have someone from the radio and podcast, Union Adult Ed, biochemist / lab technician, computer / software, and hospice nurse coming up. The seniors are in a national public radio, so we're in a student podcast challenge, and it's in our government class, which is what most of the class is about right now. It's student ran. Our teacher just basically structured everything for us, but we chose everything. Our topic is prison system. Our subtopics are mass incarceration, prison structure, war on drugs, and rehabilitation. We began to brainstorm everything early February, and this is due March 31st, so it's a contest we're trying to win. We have our parent advisory meeting this Thursday, February 27th from 6 to 8 p.m. Taylor Harrison will be talking about transferring for the seniors, and they will also be talking about the senior picnic. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Hello, good evening, President Durkee, members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Meyer, Superintendent's Council, and members of the audience. My name is Hannah Genovan, and I am the ASB President from Concord High School. Okay. Recently at Concord High, our winter sports season has just come to an end. Our boys soccer team made it all the way to the second round of NCS and played some very exciting games. In the first round, they played Alameda and won 2-1. In the final round, they battled Richmond. Sadly, they didn't come out with the win, but they had a great game. And they're very proud of their season and all that they had accomplished. Girls soccer made it into the first round of NCS on February 8th and played Northgate High School, and fortunately didn't advance, but they had a lot of fun, and both teams had really good seasons, and they're looking forward to next year already. Basketball, so girls basketball played their second to last game against Berean Christian, who was the #1 team in their league, and they won 60-55, which was a really big win for them. One of our seniors, Sheridan Todd, actually made a personal record, and she scored 32 of those points that game, which is over half, so that's pretty good. She was very excited about that. And then it was a senior night to remember for all the 3 seniors on the team.
The boys basketball team played their last game on February 8th against Ignacio Valley. They took home the win and scored 81 points total, so the final score was 81-68. And the seniors were very proud of their season, but sad it was over, especially because it was their last. Our wrestling season came to an end also, and four of our students made it to NCS, and 2 of them advanced to the second day, which is a really big deal. Our school hasn't done that in a very long time, so we're very excited for them. Overall, their season was very successful. They came out with 4 second places, 4 third places, 4 fifth places, 5 sixth places, and 1 8th place. So we're very excited about all their medals. Also, we have something called stunt cheer, which is kind of new. It's not the same as like normal cheer for like basketball or football games. They actually do a bunch of stunts and like crazy acrobatics. And they have their first tournament this Friday the 1st, and then they have their second one next Friday, March 8th. For our choirs, we have Ladies First, whose next performance is on March 2nd at the Lesher Center in Walnut Creek. They're actually opening for Patti LaBelle, who is performing at Dan Ashley's 5th annual Rock the CASA, I think it's CASA, I'm not sure, benefit. So after that on April 1st, they will be singing the national anthem opening for the A's. So look forward to that on the Twitter page. Our band program has their first performance, or next performance, on Saturday the 2nd in Fairfield, at Fairfield High School. The Winter Garden Percussion plan to steal the show and take home first place. That's always their goal. They're very excited about that. We love our band because they're one of the most spirited groups on campus, and they never fail to surprise us. Really. So in order to prepare for their competition, they're hosting a Friends and Family Night Friday from 8 to 9, so this Friday, and all are welcome. Around this time of the year, Concord High School students are working on their senior project, similar to Northgate's. This year, there are several students that are planning a combined project to create one big event, and this program is called Community Immigration Forum, and will take place Saturday, March 30th from 10 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. I'll let Julie, who's going to come the next board meeting on the 25th, explain a little bit more about this, and she is one of the students in charge of it. But basically, it's an event where community members will be able to gain further information about immigration processes and the rights that they have. So they're going to meet with lawyers in different classrooms so that they can discuss privately like all the things that they're having, so they're aware of all their rights. So I think that's really cool, especially since most of the students they've had personal experiences with that. Yeah. In addition to that, a few of our other students have done some pretty cool things. So Christina Mazzi, who's a junior, has won a contest called Digital for Good. It's kind of connected with hashtag I Can Help, but basically she had her social media campaign recognized. It's called Project Woke, W-O-C, Project Women of Color, and so she has different accomplished women of color from all over the world who are in college or writing like these crazy novels and getting crazy awards, host her Snapchat for a day, or a Snapchat specifically for this program, and they get to talk about their day-to-day life and their experiences, and as well as answer questions that are sent in from anybody who is following the day. And they basically are really good role models for young girls that inspire them to reach their potential. She always says that if you can see it, you can do it, and this is exactly what they're doing. So it's just giving people an idea of what they can do so they can reach even higher than what their goals are already. So we're very excited about that. In addition, our very own Asal Astani, who's a senior at Concord High, received the Chevron Scholarship, which is $1,000, and that's pretty impressive, so we're very excited for her. And now we start leadership. So the past few years, our leadership classes attended the California Association of Student Leaders, or CASL, state conference. This conference created an Outstanding Leadership Program Award that is application only, and it is awarded at this conference specifically. And basically, you have to apply with all the necessary criterias. One of them was like goals. We had to have our goals set out. We had to have letters from the principal, ASB president, so I had to write a letter, and then we had to do students had to write letters. So it was like a whole school effort. I actually kind of stole your goal sheet a little bit. I kind of made my own in different format, just by the way. And so we're very excited about that. We just received word that we did win it, so we're very excited. We'll be recognized at the conference, which is pretty exciting. On February 14th, our school hosted the first annual elective rush during advisory. This is an opportunity for teachers to talk to interested students about their courses and to help them make informed decisions about what courses they want to take next year and all that. It was actually organized by our school culture director, Leah Darby, who's also our activities director. I know you came, I don't know if anybody else came, but I saw her there, so thank you very much. Then we had our second annual 5th grade leadership day, which is on February 20th, last Wednesday. We invited 7 schools and had 65 kids come. So it was really exciting. It was a little bit bigger than last year, which we planned it to be when we wanted to grow every year. And it was a solar system theme, so it reminded 5th graders that we all shine together. That was kind of our community theme. We talked a lot about communication, teamwork, and the kindness that it takes to build those foundational leadership skills. I know you were studying one last year, and one of his friends, so that was very exciting. Yeah, so we heard a lot of great things from both teachers and students, and we hope to make it even better next year. Following that, so the next day, literally on Wednesday we had, on Thursday we had our 8th grade visit. This was a really big success. Our theme was Journey Through the Jungle, so like find your own path through high school kind of thing, because high school can kind of be a jungle. I can see the comparison there, especially from 8th graders' perspectives. We had 5 schools and 360 students total join us for this day. We had student-run workshops and like rotations that went over 803G requirements, VAPA programs, student organizations. We even did a campus tour, and then we had them take pictures in a cap and gown so they kind of like could see themselves and visualize them finishing high school. And overall, the students seem to really enjoy it, and that we hope that it continues from year to year, and we hope that we help them with their transition into high school. They were a little scared, but most middle schoolers are, so we can understand, I guess. And then finally on Friday, February 22nd, which was the day after that, we hosted our 11th annual leadership exchange. So we had 13 schools and over 450 students attend. This day was all about resilience and how we as student leaders can bounce back. We heard from our amazing speaker, Dee Hankins, who shared his amazing story as well as a few laughs. And we had a bunch of student-led workshops that all focused on different aspects of leadership as well as the resilience that we must have. Overall, it was a really good day. We also had swap sessions, which means sharing with a purpose, where we collaborated on different events that schools had, talked about problems and the ways that we can fix them, like as far as different events go. And all of our schools got to meet up and kind of talk about what they wanted to bring back, which was really interesting. And we were really excited ourselves to trade ideas with different schools. We also had different schools present workshops, so it's not just us presenting, which I thought was a really important step. And thank you all who came to our events. We really appreciate that. It was really sweet of you guys. And then overall, for all of these events, we are kind of inspired even more to bring them back better next year. So yeah. And then our new committees, we have, I'm not going to tell you about them yet because I've made this super long, but we have our multi-rally coming up. It's not really a rally, it's more of a performance we've turned it into over the years. We have our Clash of the Classes rally. We have open house, March Madness basketball tournament, and we have our teacher appreciation door signs. So that's it for today. Thank you for coming.
I just wanted to thank the students who participated in our facilities planning committee, and I know Hannah is one of them, and the rest of you are welcome to give that feedback on that committee. I want to share that at the advisory steering committee, we had all of our presentations, and by far the best, most thorough presentation that looked towards the future was the one done by the students. And so I just want to thank them for, in addition to all these other things that they're doing, they're also joining us and giving feedback.
Okay, we're ready to move on to board member reports, and I'm going to try to change it up every time. Ms. Callie, you want to start this time?
So for my board report this time, I have kind of three key categories: education funding, magnet schools, and facilities. So for education funding, I just want to say that we are in disheartening times right now, as our district and so many others across the state are making very difficult decisions about budget cuts at a time when I think we all feel that we should be investing more into education to really reach our goals. You know, and the fact that as a state we're in the bottom 10 in our per pupil spending, our class size, and even the percent of state dollars spent on education. As a district, I think we would ideally be investing more funds to reach our goals. We'd like to be, you know, working on improving our student math scores and closing the achievement gap and ensuring that every student learns computer coding as the language of the future, among many of our other goals. So to that end, the CSBA, which is California School Boards Association, is having a lobby day on March 12th that I'll be attending along with many of our other colleagues from across the state to lobby our state legislature for full and fair funding. So if you're not familiar with that, it's fullandfairfunding.org has all the information. So please share that with the community. Along those same lines, I was thinking about our magnet schools and our International Baccalaureate program, among others, and that much of our spending cuts are due to decreased enrollment, which is a statewide demographic phenomenon, but is also, I think, something that we can work to change. I've been so impressed with our magnet elementary schools and our new IB program that will graduate our first class this year. See the director in the audience here. But I think that there are still so many people in the community that haven't heard about the options or that are trying to navigate the complex process that it currently takes to transfer in to these schools. I think that there are families that have been asking to transfer in not only from the neighborhood but also from neighboring communities and coming back from private school into our schools for these opportunities. But our transfer system, I think, has not adapted to these new opportunities that we have. It's based right now on basically one scenario, assuming that a student is going to be transferring to our schools that are most impacted. And because of that, I think the transfer system is set up with long waiting periods so that you apply in November and you don't hear till end of March. And part of that is because you have to wait and see the population and, you know, will there be space in this school? But our magnet schools are different. Most, if not all of them, are under-enrolled, and there's not a question about whether there's space in those schools. And the prospective students that are looking to transfer into these schools have other options that they're looking at as well. So I think we really need to engage these prospective students sooner by fast-tracking acceptances to any of our schools that are under-enrolled that clearly have space. So I've learned this through my personal experience with my own daughter attempting to transfer into a school that I think has space. And in the process, we ended up attending the open house and the daytime event only through, you know, our own initiative of trying to find out about these things. But anyone else in the transfer system, I think, doesn't get a chance to do that. I did attend the YV open house, which was for YV High, which was, I found, informative, welcoming, and inclusive. And it was really wonderful to hear all the presentations in both English and Spanish. My hope is that future prospective transfers will have that opportunity as well to be able to attend our information nights and our open houses and be engaged and excited to attend our magnet schools. So lastly, the facilities. I did attend 3 of the facilities town halls at Riverview, Northgate, and YV High. And I was especially glad to hear the presenters clarify to the public that these projects, while we were, you know, looking at these plans and imagining some great things for the future, that they were not all things that were going to happen, you know, be built by next summer. That was a question that did get asked numerous times in various places. So when will this be built? So I was glad that over time they got clearer in explaining that this is a 10 to 15 year plan and not something that we have funding for currently. I think that's really important for people to know. And the one last thing that I wanted to say was that I appreciated the way that people talked about not only their own school, but there were people who were brainstorming as a district, you know, what this facility master plan looks like. Particularly the comment about how are we planning to locate and expand our autism classes over time across the districts? And that, I think, is a crucial question that we need to make sure that we address in our facilities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was an excellent presentation. I had the opportunity to attend one of the meetings for the Ignacio Valley High School WASC presentation, and so that was on February 12th, and that was an excellent meeting. I appreciate the fact that we had the board governance workshop, and I enjoyed working with all of you, and I know Mr. Lawrence probably has had a meeting already with Mrs. Durkee about that event, and I want to acknowledge that our facilitator, Sally Frazier, did an excellent job in bringing out the best in all of us, at least in me. On February 19th, we attended the State of the City for presentation for Walnut Creek, and Mayor Cindy Silva spoke about the city and its improvements and delivery of service to its constituents, and I was pleased to see that she featured Northgate High School and did not mention Las Lomas High School. So that, you know, the city of Walnut Creek has two high schools within its boundaries. I did attend the Journey to the Jungle meeting at College Park, Concord High School, excuse me, Hannah. I was there at about 11:30 when you were wrapping up with the 8th graders, and got to listen to their responses to the questions that were asked, and you were handing out prizes.
Oh yeah, they
to
made
all
me run
of,
up and down the bleachers.
Yes.
I was gonna trip.
I know, you did a great job. But the students were able to answer the questions about, you know, how many credits is required to graduate, and many other questions that were the information that was shared with them during the day. And so I think they went away with a lot more knowledge about high school and the opportunities that are afforded at Concord High School. On the 21st, I went to the DLAC meeting, and Dr. Meyer did a presentation about the school district's budget. And the meeting was, of course, translated into Spanish, and the parents were very receptive about the information, and some positive questions were asked. On the 21st, I also went to the NITO Community Network Dinner. I arrived late in the evening, but I just want to share that Isabel Laura was awarded an Unsung Hero Award by that organization for, and she is one of the hardworking employees in our school districts, and she was one of 6 individuals recognized. So if you'd like to see the program, please come up, and I'll be glad to share it with you. I attended the Mount Diablo High School, the Northgate High School, the College Park High School, and the Charter School LPA facilities meetings, and I'm intrigued with the site plans. I've reimagined our schools in many different ways, and it was interesting to see some new design concepts, and I know that there's probably a lot of discussion going on in our classroom, at our school sites, about those concept drawings. And that's what they are at this point in time. They're just diagrams. They're not final decisions regarding what will happen at our campuses. And it's important to have that dialogue, because they brought out some fresh ideas that our communities may have not thought about. And then I want to thank Medea for inviting us to the Al Costa breakfast on Saturday. It was a great event, and I enjoyed the social aspect of the meeting as well as the speakers. Thank you.
As you can tell, we spend a lot of time together, at least we have the last couple of weeks. I went to the facility meeting at Mount Diablo High School, at Concord High School, and the one at Riverview. It's always good to go out. I like to go out whenever I can and listen to what the parents and the kids would like, or students would like to see in the school, so that's always good. I went to the master plan meeting where truly Hannah and her peers stole the show, and actually I was fortunate enough to be in their group, because I learned a whole lot about energy and green and light. It was amazing. Anyone who wants to be cheered up. Just go and hang out with our kids, which is what I did a lot of at Concord High School.
Yeah.
Principal was threatening to hire me. I was there for the elective rush, which was really cool. I went and talked to the kids about yearbook, because I was on yearbook when I was in high school, although it's a very different process now. I went to the zoology, to the academy, and it's really neat. The kids just go along, and the seniors are sitting there explaining the classes and why they would be interested, and so that was a lot of fun. And then I went for the 5th grade day and watched the 5th graders doing team building activities with the high school students. And then I went back on Friday for the leadership, which was so entertaining to see the mascot dance off and the scavenger hunt game and listen to the speaker. So I spent about half of the day there and walked into a couple of the sessions. And again, our high school students are amazing, and whenever I go and hang out at the high school, I feel better about the state of the world these days, because good things are coming. And I also went to the breakfast and the board training, and I think that's pretty much it. Like I said, we spent a lot of time hanging out together. You're up, Mr. Warren.
I'll start by saying I appreciate hearing from fellow board members as well as members of the audience around the topic of higher funding for education. And we are now in year 9 or 10 of an economic expansion, and we live in a state which is 41st in education funding, even though we have relatively high sales tax, property tax, and income tax. And I think it's rather frustrating and inexplicable that we continue to underfund education in the manner which we do. And we as a board, like every other board, are looking at things like, I think we all agree that our employees deserve higher wages. We would like to see lower class sizes. We would like to see an expansion of services such as librarians and counselors. And yet we are faced with making choices because we do not have the funding to do all of those things, and that there are trade-offs within the budgeting and funding process. And so I think one of the things that we need to continue to look at is how we expand the support for funding education in the state of California. Along those lines, I think that we also need to look at our persistently lower performing academic schools. And so I've talked to the superintendent and staff, and I'm hoping that we can do a presentation where we look at some of those schools in a collaborative manner to, one, I think socioeconomics, it is consistently shown to be the #1 indicator of student success. And so there are persistent and stubborn problems and challenges around that, but looking at what is going well at these schools as well as what are the challenges and what can we as a board and district do to support our underperforming schools. And then in addition, my final thing is that we've had some, in my last 2 years, we've had some unique experiences on the board where we've had fire days. And we've had days that we've closed school, and other days where even in smoky conditions we've had school open, and that's a process that I know the superintendent and staff take very seriously in making those determinations of what days we should have school open, what's best for students. In some respects, students are better off being at school where they are supervised. But one thing that I've heard consistently is that even though the directive goes out that to make sure that lunch can be held inside and things like that, I don't think that's been a uniform standard. And so whether it's a staff directive or a board policy, I do want to make sure that in going forward in days where, because frankly with climate change, we are going to have more of these days. These are going to become a more frequent occurrence, that we make sure that there is a mandatory determination of where students can eat lunch. I know we've given the option, but I think that we need to make sure that every school is acting in the best interest of the children when they are sent to school, that they're making sure that they're eating lunch inside and having all activities inside. So that whether that be just a directive from the superintendent or a board policy, I would like to make sure that we address that, because I pretty much guarantee we're going to see more of those. So that's my board report. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks to everybody. I'll be brief since most of it was covered. I also attended facilities meetings, found them fascinating, and loved the fact they're really well attended. I think that was the thing that I was very pleasantly pleased to see. Thanks to my colleagues for the time spent in our governance workshop. I think we did it 2 years ago, and it was really valuable for me then as a new board member, and I thought it was also really valuable. So we have some tasks that came out of that we'll be working on. And thank you also to Medea for the breakfast. Said it's a great time, a little more Saturday mornings, a little more casual, good time to be able to just talk and enjoy each other's company. So I did attend something called the Hidden Workforce Fair, which was actually it was talked about at the Community Advisory Committee, which is the special ed committee. Because it was a fair for employers to learn more about hiring people with disabilities. So it was multiple partners. It was a Contra Costa Workforce organization I used to be part of, Contra Costa Workforce Development Board, Mount Diablo Adult Education, and numerous Department of Rehab, numerous nonprofit organizations that serve folks who have variety of disabilities and are interested in being employed. So it was I didn't get to stay the whole time, but it was a kind of a first time thing, and it was really very well attended and really great to see. And then I'll just share for my board members that I've been in communication with the mayor of Pleasant Hill about joint meetings, so we're still working on that.
You know, we've talked about funding and how we can advocate for increased funding for public education. Senator Glazier and the assembly members are starting to hold town hall meetings on March 11th, which is the same night as a board meeting. Mr. Glazier and Mr. Gratian are holding a town hall meeting at Holbrook Elementary School. So if you have an opportunity to go and speak with them or ask questions about what their viewpoints are about increased funding for public education, that would be great. They're also planning another one in Lafayette, I believe, on March 28th. So these are some events that you might want to put on your calendar and join in that public dialogue to just keep education in the forefront and on the top of their conversation list. Thank you.
I also not to schedule on a board meeting night.
Yeah.
You're in our district, but okay. Okay, so we're ready for our superintendent's report.
Yes, thank you. We did receive a postcard in the mail regarding the March 11th, and I did share with Assemblyman Grayson's office that we want to make sure that we can go in the future, and so they said they would be working on improving in that area. But we're very happy to have them at Holbrook. So. On the same disc, of course, and has a similar name. There we go. This young lady is one of the school ambassadors that when you go and visit an elementary school, she's there. She does tours for the after school program. She's pretty amazing, and she likes having her picture taken, which is a good thing. So to start out, I wanted to share, as I share in every board meeting, our goal of making sure that as a district we understand that it is our moral imperative to make sure that all students have a pathway to college and career upon graduation, and that we challenge them within the classroom and we challenge them with our district-wide expectations. So that is something that we have brought together as a district mission. And kind of hard to see, it seems like the color looks a little different, but we had so many facility town halls. We had two a night, and they were on different campuses. So this group was going to all of them, but we kind of crossed paths and overlapped on occasion along with our cabinet. And so here you can see some pictures of Concord High and Riverview. I like the picture in the top right here because Mr. Jackson was, wake him up there, he was getting asked all sorts of questions, and you can see the parents just loving to hear his explanations here on the left. We also have Mr. Espinosa and Ms. Count looking at Riverview and the Riverview campus with parents. And then this picture down here, this big campus is Concord High School, and they were looking at how Concord at another evening really could do some of the things Ms. Mayo mentioned, including think differently about our spaces. So these pictures don't do it justice. It was a really well attended, really fun evening, and a lot of aspiring and looking to things that we could do at all of our high school campuses. So we've also had a fantastic board governance. So I'll go rather quickly because we have a budget presentation as well after this. But some of the things that were emphasized included teamwork and working together as a governance team, communicating with each other. There were little things that we're not always able to say when we have to agendize every comment. So it's a great opportunity to kind of talk about how we receive information and give information. We talked about best practices. So the California school boards, they have a lot of handbooks and a lot of policies and a lot of really good information that we can look at as a board to further our goals. And coming soon is a handbook. So we have a subcommittee that will be working on a board handbook. And so there's a lot to look forward to. You can see we have our compass looking for our North Star, and really had a wonderfully facilitated morning on February 13th. Also wanted to mention on the same day, surprising you guys, there was Adult Educator of the Year Award, and we had awards that were held at the Pacheco Community Center. And so there's Ms. Durkee, who received that award. Friend of Adult Education.
Not an adult educator.
Oh, okay, Friend of Adult Education. So that was something that was quite an honor to a nice packed house there around the particular programs across the county. So countywide representatives were there, and one friend was selected. Another thing that we've been working on, we have continued a partnership with Junior Achievement. And so, we've been talking about females and leadership, and I looked at all of the ASB leaders, just so happened tonight. This was a group of local leaders who got together who are looking at expanding our Junior Achievement programs. They go from K to 12, and they do things such as create towns with economic systems, internships, and they have wonderful things that they're doing with financial literacy and real exciting opportunities and mentorships available. So this group, we met in Walnut Creek, and we will be hosting an event the last 2 months of the year. We're still looking for that location to be determined, but we had city leaders represented and Junior Achievement statewide officials there, so we're very excited about this renewed partnership. Also wanted to share, we had the State of the City with Walnut Creek, and the Mayor Cindy Silva gave her presentation on all of the different components of a city and shared how they're going to work together to look at the arts, to look at transportation is a big thing for them, and then also how to develop business. And so that was also something that we were in attendance at. And this Saturday at Alhambra High School in Martinez, we had our wonderful dream team, Mount Diablo staff, who went and manned tables at Alhambra. And we had one of many recruiting opportunities that we have for the district, and that was held on Saturday. And in addition, on Saturday morning prior to that recruiting event, we had the Q East Bay Symposium at Valley View. And so they focus on science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM. And really this is the brainchild of, in the bottom left-hand box, did you go to Valley View? No? Shauna Hawes, who is an amazing teacher who teaches there, who has connected with Marathon, that used to be something else that was Tesoro, Endeavor, Tesoro, and now they're Marathon. And so they've been wonderful supporters of our district, and they have funded our robotics classes that we have across the district, and they had this symposium. We had two star teachers who presented. On the left, we have a resource teacher from Sun Terrace Elementary, Carly Mora, and on the right, we have Northgate High School teacher Mark Tobin, who also runs the help desk with students at Northgate High School. And these are reluctant, dynamic presenters. And so I think they were reluctant for about 1 minute. And so I took a picture right before they started, in that moment before, and they just were funny and engaging, and they really did a great job talking about how to engage with STEM. And then for the rest of the day, they broke out into different groups, and people from all over the county, and actually Alameda County and Solana County and Dublin as well. They presented and took part in that event Saturday. I also wanted to share that we had this week an international baccalaureate visit by their consultant that they've assigned to Oak Grove, and he comes from Minnesota, and he was very complimentary to all of the work that Oak Grove has done. They have on, rubrics and a lot of information and training, and he shared, I guess they've gone to Texas, the staff has gone to Texas, and they've gone to Sacramento, and they've done a lot at Napa to look at international baccalaureate programs at the middle level. And then I know he was very complimentary of the work that they're doing, and showed us the different components and how that is going to play itself out. They're going to Lake Tahoe, I know, as well this summer. And so he said that they were on track for success. And so they are currently in the process of going through all those materials as a team for the middle years program. And we'll hear probably at some point soon about the high school diploma program. And so lastly, just a few shots. We had a great partnership with Yours Humanly through our Education Foundation, who has been, they've been donating materials, consultants for chalk art, and books and supplies for our robotics team at Sun Terrace. So Saturday night they had a great event where you can see on the left in particular, two of our science and math teachers talked about the kits that they're interested in getting, and people bid on the kits, and it's kind of fun to go to something like this for the first time. I've been to auctions for art somewhere, but didn't buy any. But this was really something where the community really came forward and contributed. Here you can see some familiar faces from, and Sunny, second from the right, Sunny Singh is the CEO of Yours Humanly, who have developed that partnership. And then on the right, you can see Linda Mayo and Isabel Lara, who were receiving she was receiving the award at Neto, and it was what was the award again? The
Unsung Heroes.
Unsung Heroes, and we have a lot of those. So with that, I thank you.
Thank you.
Good night, ladies.
Thank you. Good job. Okay, so we're ready for our next item.
I'll send the students the budget report in case they want to look at it tomorrow. Hannah just gave me a thumbs up. Okay. So you may recognize this voice you just heard in the last presentation, so I will go rather quickly, but there are some things that I would like to share with the board and the community. To revisit our priorities, to talk about the multitude of things that we do to, as a district. We've mentioned before, staffing, materials, and facilities. I put that on there because that is something that the community has prioritized and that we have recent funding for. So it is nonetheless extremely important. And then, as identified earlier, we talked about the district budget and how it really is an expression of what our district values. And hearing your board reports, knowing that it is not enough, and you know, I've said it before, the 41st in the nation in educational funding, the 5th, sometimes 6th in economies in the world, and then certainly there's that strange combination of the haves and the have-nots, and where are we putting money as a California system. So we've been really looking at the governor's budget to try and get a sense of where that money is. Honing in on the LCFF governor's budget, we have stated that the state is proposing $2 billion to fund the COLA. So that is something that is a positive step. So we're seeing the governor's listening to some of the advisors who are talking about the needs and where they are, perhaps not to the amount that we need. We're also looking at the funding going to $63 billion, and there's the $2 billion there, up from $61 in 18-19. And then in 19-20, the average increase in per pupil funding is estimated to be $343 per ADA, and it does swing some districts that have basic aid funding. They are funded by their property value, and they receive in some cases up to double the per pupil funding that we receive as a district. And then districts that have large foundations and that contribute, they also sometimes have, or redevelopment monies, they have large amounts of money that contribute to the district. And then there's also concentration funds that are for districts that have 55% over unduplicated students, English learners, foster youth, students in poverty. And so those really provide a lot of variance in who gets what and how much. The lower 3.37 increase takes into consideration that that COLA is applied to certain budgets. Here are a couple that they leave out. The Instructional Improvement Grant, TIG, which has always been something that is used for school improvements, and Transportation and Economic Recovery Target, which we haven't really talked about quite yet and haven't analyzed to the extent we need to. So what's not in the budget, the governor's budget, with a new administration, we're kind of waiting to see, what, with Jerry Brown, it was often stated that it was very predictable. And so whatever he had in January, you would typically see in May. And there wasn't a lot of variance. He pretty much got what he wanted. And not a lot of debate either. We may see that as well, again, but we're not quite certain. But one of the things that we do know is that the governor has been very clear about his priorities, and he has spoken about funding various special education proposals. So he hasn't gone into the specifics, but you can see that he has listened to some of the concerns that have been brought to him. Early childhood education proposals, so 0 to 5. Is a big thing that he's talked about repeatedly, and funding preschool and preschool for all, and those have been things that we don't know if they would happen right away or gradually. We do know that they have been a challenge financially for both the state and the nation. And then looking at, while new funding is provided for special ed, funding is not necessarily included in the budget, so it is also underfunded, and we can bring more information in the future about how much so, but it is definitely underfunded. And the LCFF targets that Governor Brown had were achieved, and this was a goal that was equal to what we had in 2008, and much better though, because we did go through the cuts in 10, 11, 12. But so it does bring us up to that pre-cutting period, and the higher aspirational targets have not yet been included in the budget. CSBA has been working on lobbying to be in the first 5, as you mentioned, and really to be equal to where we are as far as what we bring in to the nation. And then lastly, the budget does not provide any funds for one-time discretionary grants, but there are a lot of other different grants that we'll hear a little bit about that are out there, but they have a lot of restrictions that cost. So this is nothing necessarily new, but it's good to see. This is the grade span adjustment funding, and we put this in here to share that there has been consideration K-3 for the class size reduction. The grade span adjustment is what GSA is, and that you do see it going up because by 1920, that is when school districts need to agree to have an average of 24-to-1 in their K-3 at each school. And so we are already there, but we see that that is something that we had as a goal in K-3. Some districts have chosen not to take that grade span adjustment, but very few, frankly, because it is a considerable amount of money. But some have had difficulty keeping their class sizes that low and working either across a large system or a small system. At the middle, there in 4-6 and then 7-8, there is not a change. But at the high school level, there is some funding that is the 2.6% increase over the what they had for career technical education considerations. And much like many of the other things we talked about, it's not enough for that particular pathway, so we do supplement it with a grant we have currently. And we have applied for that and are hoping to get that next year. Okay, so in December, as we've heard, we know that we were projecting a $17 million reduction. And in December 2018, we brought to the board that presentation. By January, it had already changed completely, but for the good. So that was good news. January, the governor's proposed budget was revised and projected a reduction that considered the pension monies that districts have been required to pay since 2015. Employers' contribution used to be the state because we were employed by the state. But the state voted to make it the district because we're also an employer in 2015. So they shifted that cost to the districts. There's some glimmer of discussion that maybe the governor would recognize that and shift it back. That would be wonderful. But that we have not seen yet. The $5 million relief brings the projected reduction down to $12 million, and really with internal cost savings and things we've already done, we have brought that $12 million down. We're still computing how much, but every time that we're doing the savings, it's applied to that savings to avoid any kind of cut. And with this, we're still currently projected at 1920 needing $5 million and 2021 7.7, but as we save things this year, it's kind of like your mortgage, you're not paying as much interest. So as we save this year, then those out years become smaller as well. So what does this mean? You've seen this slide before, but I had a community member tell me every time he sees it, he learns something else. So I will just share that part of this is declining enrollment. Ranging from 1 to 1.5, and we know for every 1% it is $3 million that is reduced from our budget. And the state revenue increases do not fully fund the expenditure increases. Salaries and benefits account for 88.9% of the district's budget. That is not unusual. That is about what you'll see in other places. And then the pension, I already mentioned, the step and column. Health benefit increases as we are dependent on another entity making the decision about how much that would cost. and then special ed cost increases. And partly, this one I want to just elaborate on. I would say with the last budget cuts, and I was in another district, but what I saw was a very sad example of how groups were pitted against each other for the same pot of money. And you heard a lot of comments like, oh, it's an encroachment, or you're taking from special ed students, and special ed students are general ed students who have supplementary things that they need. And so I do want to say that that is all students have something extra that they need. The other point I want to make is that as enrollment is declining across California, you see it going down, not drastically, but it is. Special education, the number of students is going up by 2.5%. So it's an interesting kind of place, and probably because we're getting better at what we do. And so that is a part of what the challenge is, because I do not see that the funding is reflecting that. Okay, so some other things going on with Mount Diablo and what this means for us, what the overall budget means for us. In addition to the governor's budget, we have some things that have been occurring. 49% of our students were receiving free and reduced lunch in 2013, and now that number has dropped to 41%. And we really see, and it was last year 46, now down to 41. So that's a big impact on our federal budgets. And you want to ask why? Or you know why?
I do, but I want to ask why, and then I want to make a comment.
Okay. We've asked our high school students primarily where we've seen the numbers drop off. And families have reported they're uncomfortable sharing information with federal agencies. Some students are uncomfortable sharing that they need it in the first place, especially the older they get. And then the third reason is that we're also seeing, with the cost of living and the housing in this area, people are moving either to the Central Valley or east or another state. So those are three factors that we've hit upon that have impacted that.
And my comment would be, I think one of the leading drivers of this is the chilling and draconian policies of our federal government in this area. And there are people in our community who we provide lunch to. And I believe firmly and will fight hard on this issue that we have both a legal and a moral obligation as a school district to educate the children who are in our district. It is not our job as a school district to check on immigration status. That is a federal responsibility, but when a child comes to our door, we need to educate them and we need to feed them. That it's really basic that hungry kids do not learn very well, and this is very concerning to see that I do not believe that there is a drop in the need for free and reduced lunch, but much rather that there is a reduction in the number of students and families who are comfortable asking for it, because rightfully so, they are scared of the potential impacts on their family, that they are concerned that they might be raided by federal organizations and deported from this country.
Thank you. I want to share that it's a federal program, as you mentioned, and so as a result, they look at federal amounts, etc. In California, as we know, costs more than most everywhere. And so when I looked at the amount of money that students, families receive, we are allocated 125% because they know that it's a higher cost of living. Same across California though, so you could live in a different place than this area. And that amounts to a little over $30,000 a year for a family of 4. That's what you need to make less than. So just do the math on how much rent is and then look through that and see that, you know, we have many students that are over that mark, you know, they're in the buffer zone that are also going without. And so that, when you look at that, you know, if you have 4 people in a 1-bedroom, is that $2,000 a month? Probably. So now you have 6, 7, 8,000 for the rest of everything. And so that is less than $1,000 a month for expenses. So when you think of it that way, it really is something. And so to be able to provide that, and we provide breakfast, lunch, and supper in many places, not everywhere yet, this program is critical. Looking at what it means, though, it's also the gauge that we use to fund our other Title programs. So that's how we get that number. So anticipated reductions in Title I, it's around $500,000 is what we're looking at. So this is kind of another hit. And then loss of the governor's one-time money. And this, the budget isn't final, but he said we're not going to do this, so we're going to believe him. What you can see is that it was 184. Well, actually, we start at the bottom in 15-16. Governor Brown loved this idea, so it was $530 per student. And he knows, because he gets his reserve and he wants to do that one time, and he doesn't want to put the future in jeopardy. And so he was very fiscally thoughtful. But then 214 and 16-17, 147, and then up again 184 in 18-19. And so we're not expecting that to come back. This shows the drop from 36 or 35,000 to 31,000, and so it's kind of a steep slope, but you can see it, the enrollment. And so in 07-08 it was around 35,000. Just for comparison, that's a few hundred less than what Oakland is right now. Then not having the same number of charters and other challenges, really remained relatively flat, just the normal ins and outs that you see with demographics changing and aging populations, not having students in the area. And then you can see in 12-13, that was when one large comprehensive high school converted to a charter, so that was the drop there in that year. And then after that it stayed kind of flat. And then you can kind of start to see that we had another local charter rocket ship, and it's amazing how every little bit counts when you're looking at enrollment in this way. And what this does is it gets us close to the 30,000 mark. And if our attendance is under 30,000, meaning 29,999, then we are required to put an extra 1% in our reserve. So going from 2%, which was 6 million, to 3%, which is 9 million. And so we are now at that point with a number where our attendance, which is not 100%, which is about 96, which is good, but no one is, we don't expect everyone to come to class every day when they're sick. So that is another challenge that we're looking at this year for the first time. So to kind of give you a sense of staffing and enrollment, we as a team had looked to that governor's money to provide more services, and we're a people business, so people are those who are providing the services. So you can see from 15-16 to 18-19, our classified staffing went up from 1230 to 1318. And so, a slight increase. You can see it's about 90 positions. And then with certificated, we did have actions that, increased counseling services and other services. And certificated was 1880 in 15-16, and then in 18-19, 1924. But you can also see that the enrollment, in this case, this was the October enrollment, so the other was a different deadline. But it was the C beds that's taken in October went from 32 to 30. So that was something that we all wanted to do, and we were thoughtful about it. but that does show the shift. And then just some other considerations, and some of this we've talked about. In the 19 districts, including the county, which is very small and has very few teaching positions and counseling positions and certificated positions, really. We are 8th in the county out of 19. And so that's where we were in 17-18. And then we have had, and we brought to the board multiple times each year, the plan for spending down the reserve to put that into the long-range goal. I mentioned enrollment and pension. Our student needs continue to increase, and we know that everywhere. And I think that is because we do a good job of identifying what they are, but also because there tend to be new requirements in different areas each year. And then we have some grants that are expiring and some that we are hoping to renew. So that's just something we're waiting on. We should have some information end of March about our CTIG grant, which funds all of our career technical ed, not all, but majority of our FTE in those classes. Okay, and we've seen this before. This just shows the different pots of money: unrestricted, the base, the LCFF, supplemental, the restricted state grants. That might be like the CTIG grant. Restricted federal grants. There are federal grants that come from the Department of Ed, and they ask for certain things and they allocate certain money. And then also restricted local grants. That could be something that is designed for a specific purpose. And then local donations. So those are really the broad categories. And then looking at the different supports for students. As a staff, they have been analyzing the positions that are necessary, looking at our nursing allocations, our counselors, librarians, psychologists, directors, principals, vice principals, teachers on special assignment, and social workers. And one of the reasons that you don't see classified on here is because we're now analyzing first the timeline necessary for certificated, and then there's also then an analysis that occurs about classified staffing support. So they tend to happen in 2 different steps. This is really hard to see, but I do encourage you to look at it. It's attached to the board docket, but this gives you an idea of students per support personnel. And thank you to our staff, fiscal staff. They found this through the Department of Ed, and it shows counseling ratios, librarian ratios. These 2 S's, they're throughout the state, and so we're still looking to see what that means. So I believe they didn't record it. And then nursing ratios, psychologists, social workers, speech. And then special ed, other personnel, we're still trying to define what position that is because we're unique. We have so many different titles and supports. So that's one that it looks like they're counting something that we may not have, but we do have quite a bit of support in that. And then you can see Contra Costa County, and this only goes to 17, and this was 17-18, and then also California. So it kind of gives you an idea when you look at this, and it's not where we want to be by any means, but it gives you some comparison to look at. And then something I was curious about, because as we're looking at reductions, I wanted to get a sense of the county and the district, and so administrative staff, because we've looked at our ratio, and from what we see, and we can get it looks like it is like one of the bottom 4 as far as the lowest, or the lowest rate. We have the least number of administrators per pupil, but that's partly because we're larger, so we have economy of scale, but it's also because we don't have as many as some other places. But what we found with the county is that you can see here the purple, as it's gone down slightly from 12-13 to 16-17, and then the whatever color that is, greenish yellow, that is the administration. And so you can see when we have been over these years being very thoughtful when we've had a vacancy. We haven't always replaced that vacancy, and especially when we've been looking at, we've had reorganizations over the years. You know, when they come to you either cost neutral or with the savings. And so this shows the administrative, you know, I don't want to say decline, but the numbers have declined.
So is this administrators per student, or is it the reverse of that? So does this mean that if we're going from in 12, 13, 351, was that for every 300, there is one administrator for every 351 students, and now there's an administrator for every 246 students?
Yes.
So we've increased the number of administrators.
No, it's like, I think it's actual numbers. I think it's actual.
It is, yes.
I think it's actual numbers.
Yes. Those are the numbers of administrators as they've gone down.
So, okay.
Yeah,
that's what
I
I'm
said
asking.
ratio. I did.
Okay.
You're
so-
right.
And then how do we compare that to the county, though? Because that doesn't make sense.
Average of all the districts in the county.
So by
Yeah.
county, it's talking about all the
school districts in
in the county,
Yeah.
the average number of administrators?
Yeah, I was looking for the ratio, that's why I said it mistakenly. But yes, this is the county overall. So when we compare, like our test scores, for example, the state, the county, and the district, those are the numbers that we look at. And so this is similar. This shows that overall in the county, it's gone down as well, but not to the degree.
So we used to have more our average number of administrators in our district used to be more than the average number of administrators in other school districts across the county.
Right.
And now it's slightly less.
Right.
We're about the same.
Right. And so we wanted to also look at teachers in Mount Diablo Unified to see kind of the same number, and we haven't as yet looked at it compared to the county. And you can see the number, and you already saw that in the other chart, but we've been looking at putting the money, you know, looking at fulfilling the role right next to the student first, and then administrators have been cut where teachers have not to this point. And then some of the budget solutions that we're looking at. So if we look at, we have 12 million at this point, and maybe with some of our savings, we have reduced that to 10. Here are some of the ways that we have been doing that. We're looking at redistributing current resources to make the most of what we have within the classroom. So for example, if we have people who are assigned to different central offices, we have been, you know, looking to dispatch them to schools or to assist with support, but this really is a task that is going to happen for the most part next year because most people are in the positions that they've had all year. Attrition was a strategy that we've used over the last 3 years, and basically what that means is that if you retire to the best of our ability because you can't, you know, you can't fill a chemistry teacher's position with an English teacher, of course, but to the degree that we can, we've been working very hard to maintain the staff of the people who are here because we value our employees. And so when we've had retirements, we have worked hard to make that counteract as part of our budget plan. To date, and this was made last Thursday, we have had 10 people report that they're retiring. And we know it's early and that number will grow, but that was the number that we had late last week. And then also focusing our centrally provided services and also having fewer and more things that are happening at the campuses. And then rethinking our current allocations, including books and supplies, contracts, time away from sites, especially travel. And then we mentioned aligning expenses to the decline in enrollment. One big thing that we are looking at for budget solutions, and we know across the state, many places are cutting this program entirely, but we're looking at a reduction in our summer school offerings. And that was something that we brought back about 4 years ago. And what we will be proposing, at a future board meeting is is looking at our after-school programs, which are at our Title I elementary schools, and they're there from 8 to 2, and having that becoming, making sure that it's academically focused, but that would be where our summer enrichment occurs for elementary and middle. And then also looking at keeping the summer school program at high school that we had for helping students graduate, but that is an unfortunate cost. Part of it is because that was funded with Title I money, and you can see we're expecting a $500,000 decline in that. And so that is something that, all of these things are things we don't want to do, but that is something that we are going to propose. And then maximizing our federal supplementary monies, looking at how we use it. I think we do a good job of that already, so it will be a challenge. And grants, as mentioned, mini grants, low performing grants, CTIG grants, and also we talked about, and in your report, we talked about how do we look to increase enrollment when possible. So those are all the things that we're looking at to discuss, because we're really not that far behind 30,000. So that would make a big difference if we increased enrollment to that degree. And then just to share, this is what I call the happy slide, because this is where you see that every year we have a considerable ending balance. And it's not unusual, but as money's allocated out everywhere, especially with budget restrictions, we see the money come back up to the top of our budget schedule. And so wanted to let you know, though, that we've been working to tighten up those allocations for the last 5 years, so we don't have such a big swing, and people can rely on what they're going to get more stably. And so we have been spending the ending balance down, and to start with 15-16, that was the year that we received governor's one-time money very late in the year. So that was a very large ending fund balance, because we had no instructions on how to spend it and the planning that we needed. So that all occurred in the last quarter of the year. So as a result, that money went up into the beginning balance for the next year, but that was $98 million. And then in 16-17, we decreased that and had a 9.4% decrease, and this was all planned in the schedule. And the ending balance was $88 million, almost 89. 17-18, the planned decrease was 35%, but the ending balance was still 57. So you can see it's sizable, and that was a large decrease. And then 18-19, looking at the budget total of $392 million, and then the ending balance we're projecting, this is a projection for this year, of $27 million with a 53% decrease. And the plan that we've seen over the years is that this would be the big decrease, and then we come up, and then we are flat in the years out. And I point this out because now you know that we have the 3%, which is 9, but that's still, you can see that still has some funding that will be most likely coming with this ending balance. That being said, we just wanted to be very upfront with that is the money that we're looking at, and we do see some of the possible reductions. Okay, we've talked about this in the past, and I've asked, we'll talk about it, I think, when we get to another part of the board meeting. But just to say, programs will continue to be reviewed, one-time money is not expected, staffing allocations will be at required level, and we will see some classes larger. Fewer contracts from outside sources will be available. We're already limiting those when schools are saying, we want this and that. We try and think about how we can provide it first centrally with the people we have. And then some of the things that are in our purchasing restrictions, travel restrictions, and it's not a freeze because we are looking at, you know, ones that align to our main goals. So we do have an appeal process for those. Overtime, we found there was a lot of overtime that was going on a regular basis when we did an analysis, and so that was a considerable amount. So now we know we have to have it in emergencies, but we're looking at when and where. Food purchase, this is a small amount, but if someone is having other things restricted, you know, it's just something that we can do without at this time. And as I said, we're reviewing all of the vacancies. And some of the things that that we've been doing as we gather feedback is looking at the classroom, engaging with stakeholders, sharing the current budget status, and thank you to Carmen Garces who presented at the DLAC with me. She did a great job. Looking at aligning the discussions to our 3 LCAP goals, and we talked to the, we've had community meetings where we've asked about these 3 goals and what they're interested in seeing supported through these goals. And then just some information, continuing to work with the Budget Advisory Committee, working with the District English Learner Committee, and sharing is probably the wrong word because what we're doing is we're collecting their priorities and their prioritization. Board presentations every meeting, principal presentations, and asking principals to present to their staff, and then revisiting the priorities that we have in our LCAP. And you've seen this is kind of the timeline, and it's we got the first news of what he wanted in January. This month our principals worked with the staffing team and looked at their allocations. Then March, staffing adjustments, and April updating the LCAP, and then May looking at the revise, and then June adopting the budget and hoping the state adopts it at the same time. So lastly, just to say that that looking at the services that involve all of our staff and all of our team towards these goals, as mentioned, and that is the budget report. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't know if we have any other questions. I just want to say thank you for being thoughtful about additional pieces. I know we're going to be doing this every meeting, probably going forward till we get through this year and get to next year, the final information on next year's budget. So you're adding new pieces each time. I think that's really helpful. So okay, so we are ready to move on to our consent agenda. So items listed under the consent agenda are considered routine and will be approved, adopted by a single motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. However, any item may be removed from the consent agenda upon the request of any member of the board and acted upon separately. Do we have any requests?
I want to pull 15.7 and 15.13. I'd like to pull 15.11 and 15.17.
Any others? Okay, can I have a motion for the rest of them?
Madam President, I move that we approve the consent agenda with the exception of 15.7, 15.11, 15.13, and 15.17, which will be considered by separate docket items.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Is there a first and a second? We'll vote. That passes 5-0-0. Thank you. So now we go to
16-1. I pulled this because, they're having the event and the provider, the person, this hotel is providing security and a coat check person, and they don't think that that qualifies for having them fingerprinted, and I think they need to be fingerprinted. I mean, maybe it's because I grew up in the era of Ted Bundy. I don't trust anybody. I think they need to be fingerprinted. Yeah, the hotel staff people, 2 security and a code check person. Is what they're providing. And that's why I won't be voting for it.
Any other comments?
I understand Ms. Mason's concern. I guess currently the staff members and the school sites are aware of board member concerns about the fingerprinting, so I hope that there's heightened security and observation of students and chaperones at this event. I'm going to move that we approve item 16.1.
Second. First and second. We'll go to vote.
Thank you for bringing that.
That passes 4-1-0-0. Thank you.
I asked this one to be pulled. I wanted to have the chair recognize Mr. Ferrante and Ms. Garces for their nomination to serve on the DLAC committee, and applaud them for, I'm sorry, to serve on the the Budget Advisory Committee. If they would stand and be acknowledged, and then I'll make the motion.
So I look excited at the same time.
I don't know if you can do that. They ask a lot of good questions at our meetings, as does Mr. Langley, so thank you. I move that we approve the renewal of membership for Mr. Ferrante and Ms. Garces for the Budget Advisory Committee.
Second.
First and second. We will go to vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Thank you both.
I was on this where they have the extended leave of absence. How does this work? Do they apply for this? Is it an automatic thing? Because I'm sorry, I'm just looking at Mr. Torlakson, who was teaching when I was in high school, and I just can't believe he's going to come knocking on our door, so just wondering what that process is.
They initially, when they took the leave of absence, applied for this type of absence, and I have actually approached Mr. Torlakson to ask if he was going to remain on our books. He said, "I'll talk to you later." I will share. There are other wonderful people on here that we want to make sure that we extend this to, but these are typically unusual cases. You can see they are hard to fill or hard to replace people. Nearly all of them. Now I'm going to get in trouble.
No. Tom will know where it's coming from.
Madam President, may I say something as well? I also just was excited to see that there's a new hire of librarian, Amber Barron, so new librarian in the district.
I move the board approve item 16.3, recommended actions for certificated personnel.
Second.
Okay. we have first and a second, we'll go to vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. So we'll send Tom a note and congratulations. Longevity.
I think he'll have to go back and be trained again, quite frankly.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So I requested that the item 16.4 be pulled. This would be the transfer of a modular building from the Contra Costa County Office of Education to the Mount Diablo Unified School District, and the building is currently located at Ignacio Valley High School. I just had some basic, simple questions. When was this building first installed by the county? Have they maintained it adequately? What do we expect its life expectancy to be? Because I know when something costs $1 and we have to remove, the difficult part is the removal of these buildings. It's not a simple task, nor is it inexpensive. So, if the superintendent would.
Yes, Mr. Jackson, our Director of Maintenance and Operations, has some answers for us.
Yes, the building is in pretty good shape. It is, I was surprised that they're willing to give this to us for use, but I've inspected personally. It's in pretty good shape and look forward to using it at that site, or if not that site, another site, having it transport to another site in the future. So it's in good shape.
I know we keep portables way beyond their lifespan sometimes.
Yes, it went through DSA, the whole process, and is in pretty good shape.
I'm sure they don't want to pay for removing it either.
Right.
Yeah, right. There was a child care.
Yes, and as
childhood program.
The site is using it with students in there now as well.
So it is being used by students currently? Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
With that information, I'll move approval of item 16.4, the purchase of the modular building at Ignacio Valley High School for $1.
Second that.
Okay, we have first and a second, we'll go to vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0, thank you. We are now at 18.1, district organizations at regular board meetings. A single spokesperson of each recognized district organization may make a brief presentation following the consent agenda. Items are limited to those which are information.
We have no cards.
Okay. We are at 19.1, the slow performing student block grant, LPSBG, another acronym, plan. And this was on last time for information, so it's back for action. And we do have a card. Mr. Coleman, do you want to speak first? Or?
Hi there, George Fulmore, Concord, California. So, certainly accept the money. That's great, throwing money at us. But I ask again that the district do some kind of a task force on underperforming schools, get some more information. Mr. Lawrence talked about a presentation. So, get some people together, some different ideas, come out with maybe a white paper report and do that at the town hall. Have some, basis for that, how you're gonna spend it. I'm still going back to those 5 schools identified by the state as underperforming, Oak Grove Middle being one of them. But then it sounds like this money is coming and it's not going there. It's going to other stuff. It's almost like the district is being rewarded for underperforming schools. I mean, that's the way I interpret that. Seems like that's all twisted up. So I recommend that you look at those schools and throw some money there, since it's coming to help those schools. So I'm supportive of what you're going to do. I hope you pass it, and just real quick, throw a couple other things in. District newsletter seems to have disappeared. About us on the website never came back. Finally, there's a Concord City Council workshop. This is scary. These guys know so little about you. It's incredible. A couple of them actually suggested a City of Concord school district. Scary. Thank you.
Yes, I wanted to clarify for the board and the community that we did have schools that were identified as low-performing schools, and there will be a separate funding that comes for that will come to the board that we have not received yet. And so that will apply to 5 of the schools, and 5 were comprehensive and 1 was targeted for a specific program, so that will be a separate pot. The item before you now is for, and it's actually kind of a nice thing, it's for the students that were not reached with all of the money that we've had over the years that has been for the low performing schools. But these are for low performing students that reside within either low performing schools that don't qualify as one of the categories, or at high performing schools but they're low performing within those schools. So I want to point out that today there was an attachment that was put to this board item that lists each school and has the number of students that fit into this category. So there's students who aren't EL, students who are not foster youth, they are not students in poverty, yet they are not meeting proficiency in English and mathematics. And you know they're out there, and they're the ones that get lost. So I'm really pleased with this. Forward thinking on behalf of the funders, but we will be discussing the 6 schools at a future date.
Are we in discussion with this one? Okay. Just looking at the numbers, I appreciate the staff putting this together because the way that I read the grant as well was that it was targeted towards those specific students. So trying to get a sense of how many students there are that are in this category. Of low performing but not qualifying for any of the other funds, and how many we have and where they're located. So to see that it's about 1,000 students across the district, and that a number of them are in our middle schools. The largest number it looks like was 90 at El Dorado Middle. But they really do span across the district, with 69 at Valley View Middle, for example. So I really look forward to seeing, if we end up receiving this funding, how we go about addressing this, because we know exactly who the students are and what their beginning scores are, and then to look at what strategies we put into place, and then the scores at the end, to really see what strategies are working for these students. So I think it's a great opportunity.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the low performing student block grants spending plan, or budget plan.
Thank you. First?
Second.
First and second, I'll go to the vote.
I just want to make an additional comment. It's very brief. If you look at the list, practically every school in our district is touched by these funds. It includes our high performing schools and our very low performing schools. So.
Okay, thank you. That passes 5-0-0. Okay, we are now at 19.2, resolution number 18/19-44, to decrease the number of certificated employees due to a reduction or elimination of particular kinds of services.
I'm sure you might mention that there's a new.
Right, yeah, in case there's an updated document, resolution, or a copy of it, I think it's on the back table. Sometime this afternoon it was posted, so it is different than what was up there this morning, if you haven't seen that. We do have some comments, I don't know which, Dr. Meyer, which do you wanna do first? You wanna have people make comments, or public, their comments on it, or have a presentation? That might be right.
Madam President, members of the board, is this thing working? This?
Yeah.
Loud singer, I can sound. Anyway, what you have in front of you tonight is one part of a long process that is required by the Education Code for the reduction of certificated staff. The process really starts in January after the governor's budget comes out. Staff considers, administrative staff takes a look at your staffing and your enrollment, your projected enrollments, and comes up with a number of what is an appropriate level of staffing in light of your revenue. As a result of that, the assistant superintendents speak with the principals, and the executive directors look at their programs. For example, Jennifer and Wendy look at their programs, and they make a determination as to whether or not the revenues that we're getting are going to support the staffing. Unfortunately, in this district, you have declining enrollment. As you saw in the superintendent's budget presentation, it's roughly 1.5%. After a lot of work has been done in the last month and a half, 2 months, we are presenting to you tonight the preliminary resolution that starts the process to reduce the certificated staff. It begins with what we call the March 15th notice. In order to issue the March 15th notice, Dr. Meyer needs to get some direction from you as to what the numbers would be. When you see the term FTE in here, it means full-time equivalent. It's actually not a person, it's a budgetary position. So what this resolution does, it says that Superintendent's Council has indicated to Dr. Meyer that there's approximately 59.2 FTE that can be reduced. Please remember, this is not 59.2 people. It's 59.2 positions. And also, as Dr. Meyer pointed out, your current attrition number is at 10. We anticipate that number to be much higher. So ultimately, although there may be close to 50-something notices given out, this will probably affect less than, if I had to guess at this point, less than 30 people. We have a staff of about 1,900 certificated members. If my math is correct, that's approximately 0.03% of your certificated staff. This resolution, if you adopt this resolution, we will then work to determine which of the most junior employees would receive a notice. They will have the right to a hearing in April. The administrative law judge will make a determination, provide a recommendation to you all, and then you will make a decision before May 15th and 14th as to whether or not the district will issue final reduction notices. Now, that doesn't end the process, because at that point, those are just the notices to certain staff members that you may not be reemployed next year. As of June 15th, you'll get the state budget from the state legislature, and assuming that the governor doesn't chop it up too much, by the end of before June 30th, you should know what kind of revenues you'll have. And this will also affect the final notices. And if there is, in the unlikely event there are some employees that will receive the final notice and not be rehired, they'll be placed on a seniority list, and they will be rehired as positions come open. So that's the primary the process for certificated staff. Classified's different. We'll talk about that later. It's much shorter. But the certificated staff it's a long process, and this is we're like about one third way through.
Thank you very much for that. Any questions from board members? Okay. So first we have Susie Hall Whitney.
Hi. Good evening,
evening, board members and President Durkee and Superintendent Schreier. I've been in our district a long time. I'm turning into an old timer, and I've sadly lived through lots of those decline charts. But I just want to remind you, there are so many of us working so hard, and teachers, assistants, everybody, and our population is getting harder. We're not imagining that, and we're seeing it very front line at Shagun's, where I'm at right now. And I invite you to please come see us anytime, and I don't envy you at all with what you have to decide. I just hope you can be mindful, and maybe a miracle happen in our new budget with the governor. So thank you for your service and support, and thank you.
Thank you. Ellen Bland.
Good evening, board members and Dr. Meyer. My name is Dylan Bland. I teach at College Park High School. I'm a science teacher and a TOSA for our next generation science standards. And my frustration with this plan really is twofold. I've been doing a lot of thinking about this, but there's a personal side and a professional side that are equally important for me to share with you. The personal side is that I like to consider myself a teacher leader at my school, and given this, I will be unable to do that. Just the extra work that this will put on teachers, the reduction of teaching positions, it will make teachers more discouraged, more exhausted, and myself also counting among those. I have a big concern about the morale that I see around here. And then the professional concern, I see that the vision in the budget presentation says that our priorities are with teaching, counseling, nursing, libraries, visual and performing arts, athletics and sports, after-school programs, and college and career preps, but these make deep cuts to all of those. And we can't say that it's a priority and then remove it on one hand. I'm looking through the what I think is the most updated one, so if I'm off by a few numbers, please correct me on that. But removing 1 FTE of leadership is a lot. And in middle school and high school, if I'm reading this correctly, 10.8 FTE of math, 2.2 of science. Is that not correct?
No.
Thank you. I printed it this afternoon. I must have printed it a little early.
That's why I said at the beginning, it's just not too long ago it was updated.
Okay, so those numbers aside then, I'm happy that those were updated. Still, these programs with AVID reductions and CTIG reductions and leadership, these are even proposed as solutions with our CTIG grant. I don't see how that can proceed. Teachers need to be given the support that we need to implement change among our students. And removing these programs and stretching us thinner is not the way to do that. I'm also a little bit confused about the enrollment numbers I've seen. I keep hearing that our enrollment numbers are decreasing, but at the town hall meetings, it's showing about a steady 30,800-ish number for the next 10 years. So if that's consistent, where are these cuts coming from? From this year to next year, the number was projected at these town hall meetings to actually increase from 30,810 to 30,881. And that's about the same number, but that's not the drastic cuts we're led to understand. I don't know where our students go. At College Park, we're impacted. All of our classes are full, and we're supposed to cut multiple teachers from there. And I just don't see what has to give there and how else we can change this plan, but this isn't it. And we're all working so hard to support our students the best that we can, and this puts all the responsibility on teachers and asks us to sacrifice even more than we are. It makes me feel unappreciated. It makes me feel like we're there to take attendance, and feel like it's going to push teacher leaders to the side, and I think that's a very slippery slope. The message I want to close with is that I want to come up with a plan that actually empowers teachers to support our students in the ways that we all agree that they need. So thank you very much.
Anita Johnson.
Good evening. It is sad that you need to deal with such a long list of cuts that will negatively impact students. I realize that you have to trust the financial analysts that are declaring that these cuts are absolutely necessary, but I'm asking you to adjust this list to keep the cuts away from the classroom. Positions that provide direct services to students should be the last to be eliminated in situations like this, when the proposed cuts are disproportional to the declining enrollment. If we have a 1% decline in enrollment, then a 1% decline in teaching staff makes some sense. But this proposal calls for the elimination of 42 more teaching positions than is warranted by a 1% decline. If these cuts are really needed, then they need to be made as far away from the classroom as possible. Managers here at Dent do important and valuable work. However, I'm asking you to consider eliminating a few management positions rather than the positions of staff members who work directly with students. Due to the differences in average salary, each management position you identify can save 3 teaching positions. It's important to protect our students. As proposed, these cuts will increase the likelihood that a student will show up at a school to find that every class is completely full. That's the goal of this budgeting process. In reality, students will show up to understaffed schools. 3 weeks into the school year, new sections will be added and more teachers will need to be hired if possible. Eventually, the student will likely be transferred to a different set of classes. They will essentially be starting all over. The message this sends to students is that they are not important. These disruptions can be avoided with good planning. It is possible. This is not 2008. We don't need to be treating students this way. Whoever decided to eliminate teaching positions rather than central office management positions is making a judgment about the value of people's work. This list offends teachers because it is a declaration that teachers' work is not as valuable and can be eliminated in a minor crisis. I disagree. Direct work with students is the valuable work in a school district and must be maintained. There are lots of risks in this decision and lots of factors that need to be considered and a lot of negative impacts for students. I'm glad that the law requires that these decisions are made by elected officials. Thank you again for serving our community.
Amber Barron.
She left.
Andrea Ledesma.
Ledesma.
Sorry.
It's okay. I grew up with everybody saying different ways, so I'm fine.
Good evening. My name is Andrea Ledesma. I am a bilingual teacher at Meadow Homes Elementary. This is my 8th year as part of an MDUS family, and I'm proud to be part of here. I come from Sac City School District as well as Elk Grove. I'm a student from there who saw up and downs and turnarounds and everything. So being a student brought up in situations like that, it's not fun. You get looked at, you get tossed aside, you're being redirected in different ways. But I am sad that now as an educator that cuts are still happening. They happened while I was in school for various reasons. Do not know why. I was a child, didn't pay attention. Now as the adult, I do understand why cuts and budgets happen. We do it in our daily lives, in our own personal budgets. But I don't quite understand how cutting positions like myself or those who work directly with students help help save a budget when management positions can save. So by making more of those cuts that directly affect classrooms, we are telling students, parents, the community that these children are not important. When a parent goes to enroll their child at a school within their boundary lines, they run the risk of finding that a school is completely full or understaffed at the start of the school. As the school year starts, positions will need to be filled, and a frenzy of trying to find qualified teachers to come to our schools will be hard. Imagine being the parent wondering, well, what's happening to my kid? My kid needs to be taught. Pretty sure most of you are parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles. You've had kids go through systems, and you sit there and wonder, what the heck? Pretty sure that's why you're in the positions you are now, to hopefully get away from that, from what was once, into going into a brighter future. But think about from the child's perspective, what message we as adults are sending to them. We are showing this child that they are not important, that we're not able to teach them. We're not able to give them what they need to be a well-rounded, educated individual, capable of being a productive member of society. We all hear the saying, it takes a village to educate and bring up a child. How well are we staffing our village when we are giving cuts to the classrooms? But not just the classrooms, those who work directly with the students, counselors, librarians, anybody else who works directly with the student is capable of shaping this child and giving them what he or she may need in their life. Nowadays, children face difficulty just by growing up. Look at social media and what it does. We all have a direct impact in helping that child, not just academically, but also spiritually, morally, to be the adult this country needs. So I please find in your hearts, your minds, your souls, and the budget to protect our students by keeping the cuts away from the classroom. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't need to speak. You took the 10 off of the math teacher, so save you guys some time.
Okay.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Dr. Meyer, did you want to talk a little about this?
Question for Dr. Meyer and staff would be, the 10 retirements that were mentioned, are those already reflected in this number, or, well, I'll just stop there. Right, but
Yes.
knowing that we have 10 retirements,
Yes.
do we still need this number?
Yes, the 10 retirements were figured into this, as well as we had some staff who were full-time that may have had extra 0.2 positions, 1.2, and that was also figured into this to bring the number down.
And then my other question would be, I guess I'm just, and Dr. Meyer, I would just look to you to give you a chance to double check that graph on the administrators that we saw in the budget presentation, because our board is going to have to vote to eliminate certificated positions, and I think that's something no board member looks forward to, but it's part of our responsibility. However, I want to make sure that we have the absolute minimum number possible, and so one of my questions is just, I want to make sure I have full understanding of the number of administrators and what that's looked like. And so before we would vote, or before I would be able to vote affirmatively, I would just want to have a better understanding of that. And as I read it, we have this meeting or the March meeting. Do we still have the March meeting for within the timeline, or do we have to vote on this?
That was my question as well, because March 15th was the deadline, but we have a meeting on March 11th.
But my understanding is we're voting on the situation as we know it to be today. And it could be completely different at our next meeting, and hopefully will continue to improve.
Right.
So all we're doing, it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Shanky, we're acknowledging that we are probably going to have to lay off some people. We hope it doesn't go that way, but if we have to, this is the plan that as we sit here today, we have.
Yeah, once again, this is a preliminary resolution, and the reason I would recommend that you not wait till March 11th is, as a result of a resolution like this passing, the folks in Human Resources and myself and some other folks have to sit down with the seniority list and make sure we pick the right people to get notices. So it takes some time, and then we have to get out the notices and serve them. If we did it on March 11th, we would have 3 days to do something that takes about 2 weeks.
And I can also share regarding certificated management that every manager received a letter, and so they received already their preliminary notice of possible reassignment, and then in May, if there is any decision to remove anyone at that point, they receive another letter, much like other certificated non-management staff. And so that process has already occurred. Those letters have already gone out.
When you say every manager, you're talking about
every certificated manager.
That I can speak from experience. I was very 23 years. We get it every year. So we haven't done it for a number of years. We haven't had to,
But we have sent the May letter to
Yeah.
people who are going to be in a different position or no longer in
we
the
have
management.
8 positions. I'm sorry, we have 8
We have 8 on this
FTE on here,
resolution.
right? Yeah, managers.
Through the chair, I guess I just want to add that I learned when I was in high school here in Mount Diablo that unfortunately when your enrollment goes down, that affects the amount of teachers you can have at a particular school. And in our case, it meant we had to close our high school, which was very painful for the community, which we didn't like. But in hindsight, you know, they could have kept that high school open and then risked going bankrupt as a school district. Because if you continue to hire when you don't have the student population to generate the salary for the teachers, you get into a position like, unfortunately, Oakland is going through right now. So I don't want you to think we take this lightly at all. We don't take it lightly. We put a lot of thought in it. Some of us lose sleep over it. But the bottom line is a lot of our budget is by the amount of kids that come to our schools, and they are going down. I know I've seen different numbers out there, but clearly it's going down. When you see the chart of how many we lost when the 2 charter schools opened, we lost those kids. They're not in our district anymore. So as much as I had hoped I'd get through my 2 terms on the district and never have to be in this position, because we truly do value every single person who works for this district, because we know the difference you're making in kids' lives. This is part of our job. Having said that, I'll make the motion to approve the resolution number 18/19-44 to decrease the number of certificated employees due to reduction or elimination of particular kinds of services, and we're all hoping that that changes in the future.
I have further questions
You
before.
may go. So you can ask. Can we get a, do we want to see if we have a second, and then I do have questions also.
I'll second the motion.
If this motion is approved tonight, would this board have the possibility of decreasing the number in 2 weeks, and that's
Yes.
probably a question for Mr. Shanky, would we
Yes.
be able to?
This is the worst case scenario. This is as high as you would go as far as reductions. From this point forward, and I firmly believe this because I've been through this process for the last 35 years. I've been through a lot of these, unfortunately. In fact, once I had to laugh my own wife, but that's a side story. She was rehired, don't worry. But this will go down from here. In other words, once again, it's not 59 people. You will have attrition by the end of the year, in addition to the 10 folks. I mean, the goal would be to have no one lose their job with this, and simply do these numbers by attrition, but you can't at this point, because of the statutory requirement to give notice so early. This is 3 months before the state has a budget. But that's what the Ed Code requires you to do. This is the highest, and then you can go down from here. And I think in every layoff I've ever done, we've we ended up with a lot less than we started with. And sometimes it was zero. And Nellie nods her head because we went through that in San Diego.
I want to encourage people to really look at the FTE as well. I'll use the example that was raised, with CTIG or Project Lead the Way. CTIG is a 0.4, so we're not talking about even one full position. So, just to help maybe a little bit, that really look at the FTE numbers. And again, make sure you're seeing the most recent version of it, which the total is 59.2 FTE. And so that is how I'm saying this is absolutely worst case scenario. We do have to get more information about the state budget, and the first time that I can ever remember then a caution about even the COLA going down. Usually whatever we have now, it only gets better in June, but we've been told that may or may not. I really don't expect that to happen, but it's been sad that things could actually, the state budget could actually get worse. So I think there's just certain things we have to put in place so we have some options. But I agree with what everyone else is saying.
Can I ask another question? Sure. First of all, I just want to say I appreciate the revision that has come in. It going down from 96.4 FTE to now 59.2, and the particular positions that were removed from the list. I really appreciate that. The analysis that went into that. My question is on the CTIG grant items. Is that because we are waiting to hear if we won't hear about the new CTIG grant for a couple more months?
Correct, but no, that is not why. The CTIG grant funds most of our CTE courses, and this particular portion was someone who was an internal resource teacher or teacher on special assignment who was going to different schools to do Project Lead the Way work, and that person is no longer going to do that, so that is essentially a vacancy next year. So the CTIG, when it comes, we'll look at, we are going to continue to fund the supplementary materials. We have shifted, so CTIG pays for materials, and we have now taken upon the district to pay for the FTE as a shift, so we can sustain the program. So we're trying to move people out of that grant, and this is a person who is going to be retiring from that spot.
Can you say a little bit more about other examples like that? That in some cases it's not a person losing a job, but it really is just reducing for other reasons, or maybe the class size, or I don't know, whatever you might be able to.
Well, I think separate from this, I want to say that there were a lot of different positions that current staff were put into. That would be the categorical support positions were put into budgets that support that were not part of the general fund, to take that FTE to help alleviate the costs from that general fund that we need 3 years out. But specifically going down the list, I don't know that I would do it a good service other than to share that this was done with looking at the allocations at each school and asking for schools to submit or actually looking at the numbers that were over the contracted formula.
I think that's an important point, yeah. So the information's coming from sites that have done an analysis of where they feel they can still provide what they need to provide, quality education for students with these reductions.
So it started with the fiscal department sending the allocations, and then the sites looked at it and then sent us which subjects.
I know in years past we've partnered with Medea to encourage teachers who are retiring to notify us early, and we provided a financial incentive, which I don't think would necessarily be appropriate in this instance, the financial incentive. But is there anything that we're currently doing to do more outreach? Because and my drive behind this, one, I recognize how much time staff has put into providing this list.
Mm-hmm.
However, I know that this has a very even though we talk about all the kind of legalities and necessities of this, that for a teacher or a staff member receiving a pink slip,
Right.
that it's incredibly disheartening and provides a period of instability and concern. And we've lost some really good teachers in the past years because of this very process. And so, are we doing anything to encourage more teachers to tell us about if their plans to retire?
We've done that in the past years, and we haven't discussed that specifically yet, but I can say I put 10 up there for a reason. It's low. And we know we can kind of look at past years. It goes up and down. But what I can say is that what we will commit to doing is when we get that, looking to see, as I think Ms. Mason mentioned, taking a name off as soon as we can. And it, given the number here, it will be, this person came into this subject. Okay, what can we do? And then also looking at, where the need is. So we do anticipate it. We just don't know where or what subject or what area they will be retiring from. So, but we are certainly open to doing that.
That's the problem with attrition. Your attrition a lot of times doesn't match your needs to be reduced. So you need to be cautious now, and then as we look at it as the months go on, it gets better. But we just can't tell you how that's going to be at this point, because a lot of those folks haven't told us.
But I think it's fair to say when we know that we're looking at a March date, if we can avoid even one person or 5 from this list, what I'm hearing from all of you is that we need to do that as soon as possible as we go along.
Yes.
That's what I heard.
And then I would go back to, again, I recognize that we are going to have to make reductions, but I'm unclear as to the corresponding administrative cuts, and that's why I returned to that graph. And so I would absolutely like to make sure that the cuts are signs here, and I know all 4 of my fellow board members and superintendent staff feel keeping the cuts as far away from the classroom as possible. And I just want to be able to say with great certainty, yes, we've explored that to the maximum and done our best there. And so having that information about administrators would be incredibly helpful.
And we can bring that as we continue towards May as well, with specifics in closed session and general numbers in open session.
Okay, thank you for that helpful conversation. Any other comments or questions? We have a first and a second, right? So if not, we'll go to vote.
Yeah, Joanne, we can't hear you half the time. I don't know if it's the mic or what. I mean, we can hear you, but the mic isn't working.
I'll turn myself back up again.
Okay, we're ready to vote. Okay, that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Okay, we are now at 19.3, the proposed reorganization of the purchasing and warehouse department, including creation of job descriptions and the elimination/creation of full-time equivalent FTE.
I have a question for Dr. Meyer. Considering a comment that was made during public comment, is this a time sensitive? Could there was, I guess, some concern that the bargaining unit didn't get a chance to give us their input on the position that was being changed. So I don't know if there's a time issue or not on this.
I can share, I don't know. I know that we brought it 2 weeks ago for information and had that 2 weeks. And I know we've also received correspondence from the person affected, and I don't have much knowledge past that. I can ask for, would you like to kind of hear again what the impact would be? Would that be helpful?
The question was how time sensitive the vote is? Do we need
That I don't know, but I could ask Rose Ramos. It is related to the running of the purchasing department. So this time of year is a very busy time for the purchasing department because they're headed towards their last deadline to do their upfront purchasing. But yes, Rose, if you wouldn't mind, maybe she could speak more to also the deadlines and the circumstances surrounding this.
The deadline is, well, there's not a compliance deadline other than the fixed asset position, the contract specialist. We'd like to get that one in place right away. As you know, that's been an audit finding for the district for several years. And we know we do need staff in that area. So that's the only piece. If there's a concern about the one job description that there wasn't an opportunity for input, although we did do a lot of outreach and discussion. If that one could be just left out and everything else approved, I don't know that that's a possibility. I'm not sure about the logistics or mechanics with that, Larry, if that would be a request.
Okay, thank you. But there was conversation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions?
No question.
We have a motion.
Madam President, I move the board approve item 19.3, proposed reorganization of the purchasing and warehouse department.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. We'll go to vote. And that passes 5-0-0-0. Thank you. Okay, we are now at 19.4, award of E-rate RFP number 1816, network cables and UPS racks to CCT Technologies Incorporated, DBA Computerland of Silicon Valley. And this is for action.
Madam President, I move that we approve the award for E-rate RFP 1816 to CCT Technologies, doing business as Computerland of Silicon Valley.
I'll second that.
Okay. And we have a first and a second. No other questions? We'll go to the vote.
I would just like to say that we are getting an E-rate savings of 60% on this document. So,
and that is approved 5-0-0-0. Okay, 19.5, award of E-rate RFP number 1817, wireless equipment to Decotech Systems Incorporated.
I move to approve item 19.5, award of E-rate RFP 1817.
Second.
Okay, we have a first and a second. If there's no other questions or comments, we'll vote. And that is approved 5-0-0-0. Nineteen point six, Classroom Champions Incorporated, Year 2 contract.
Madam President, I move the board approve item 19.6, Classroom Champions contract for year 2.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have first and a second. Any questions or comments?
I will just say that I'm voting no because we didn't have an evaluation. I do appreciate that these schools that will be participating was changed according to the goals of the program. So I do appreciate that.
A question, have these services already been written?
They're for this current year.
So this is already.
Correct.
I guess I would just echo what Mrs. Mayo said, that when we approved this initially, there was a commitment to see the results of the program, and I don't think that we've fully done that. And I'm not just saying that because I haven't personally met any Olympians, but I think we could have done a better job of closing the loop and coming back with results regarding this program.
And I agree, but I also believe we have some information we can share with the board.
So is there a time-sensitive nature to this particular item?
Yes,
It's already
it
been.
is.
Because
It is
Okay.
halfway through, so yes.
Okay.
Okay. And that.
What did-
The red checks aren't showing.
I was gonna say, that's.
That happened on the one I voted
Huh.
on too, the red check didn't show up.
Alright.
That passes 4100. Moving right along. Okay, 19.7 is award bid 1813 Oak Grove Middle School field renovation to Goodland. We have a card coming. Landscape Construction Incorporated with alternates 1, 2, 3, and 4. And this is on for action, so do you want to,
Okay.
Mr. Fulmore.
Yeah, George Fulmore again. So I've been volunteering at Oak Grove lately, and I can verify that that field's in bad shape. There is active gopher issue. So, so kind of a current and then before. So when the gophers get there, they do all these burrows, and so I don't know what the alternatives are, but it seems like, one, you got to get rid of them. Two, you got to kind of rough things up to get the thing smooth again. So, but gee whiz, it's a nice big area and really improve things if it was made playable and usable. So I'm thrilled to see this here. I hope you pass one of those alternatives. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
And I would, one, agree with everything that Mr. Fulmore said, and I also wanted to say a thank you to Mr. Jackson, because I know he's spent a lot of time out there, and I know he's actually personally been working to, the principals physically had him probably chasing gophers and doing other improvements, and he's gotten emails and pictures from me, and so I know he's pushed on this, and I greatly appreciate that. And unless there's any other comment, I would go ahead, Madam President, move that the board approve item 19.7 award bid for Grove Middle School field construction.
Second that.
Okay, we have a first and a second, and if there's no more.
I would just like to appreciate Mr. Jackson and all who worked on this as well. It looks like, the bidding process itself took at least a year, and it's been something that people have wanted at that school for quite some time. Appreciate all the work.
And that passes 5000. Thank you.
Is that scheduled for this summer?
Yes. Okay. 19.8, 2019 California School Board Association Delegate Assembly Election. So I actually don't know how.
Delegate can make recommendations. Hey, you're working with them.
I'm working with them.
So,
Go ahead, please, Sam.
So for our Contra Costa Region 7A, there are 3 seats that expire in 2019 for which you are electing individuals, or we're voting on individuals to serve for a 2-year term. And as you can see by the asterisks following people's names, there's Liz Bettis from Walnut Creek, Marina Ramos from John Sweat, and Richard Severy from Moraga, that are the current individuals that are seeking re-election. And then Meredith Mead from Lafayette and Deshaun Woolridge from Pittsburgh are have thrown their hats into the mix as well. My notes aren't here. I would share that Mrs. Cansamilla from Pittsburgh already serves. Her term expires in 2020, and so that may help you with a decision about one individual or not. If you're looking for proximity, all of these people are very dear to me, so it's hard to choose between the three. I will share that Ms. Bettis and Ms. Ramos and Mr. Severy have attended all of the meetings that they were required or expected to attend for Delegate Assembly, and they've also attended our local CCC-SBA events. That does not mean that you haven't seen Mrs. Mead or Mr. Woolridge, but I can testify in regards to those three individuals.
So what is the process here that we're gonna take?
Well, I'll make a motion if you want, and see where it goes.
Yeah,
As a board, we usually,
right.
I was gonna just
You're gonna
make a motion that we just go with the incumbents. And that would be the three, which would be Elizabeth Bettis, Marina Ramos, and Richard Severy. Since they've dutiful served, they've been at all the meetings and they're willing to continue.
Do we know how long they have all been serving?
2 years.
So the time frame, as you were mentioning, Ms. Cansanella, the time frame, her term is
till 2020.
2020, and the term of this is
ends in 2021.
Well, I'm just going to share. I was very interested to see Mr. Woolridge's name on here for a couple of reasons. I didn't think about the Cansamilla connection, but I think because of being a K-12 district for one thing. So I just came in thinking I would like to see him get one of the spots. So I understand the awkwardness of maybe two from the same school district, but I'm just sharing my thinking.
Oh, if you look at the geographic representation too, Ms. Ramos is from the far northwest part of the county. Ms. Bettis is from the central part of the county, as is Ms. Mead. And then Richard is, it's kind of on the border there towards West County. And they're from smaller, 3 of them are from smaller districts. And it's hard.
I know I have been impressed with Deshaun Woolridge as well. I feel like we've learned some things from what they've accomplished in their school district.
I just haven't seen him at any of the meetings that I've gone to.
The meetings for.
Am I right?
You're correct.
Well, he's not a delegate.
No, but I go to the meetings. I'm not a delegate.
You mean just the conference meetings? I see. Yeah.
At CCC-SBA.
Yeah.
And we're all busy.
I know he was at the CSBA conference in December.
Okay, so we have a motion.
With no second.
I'll second it. Then you can amend the motion. Or we could vote on them, make the motion and I'll second it. Vote on, make 3 motions. You could divide the motion.
Yeah, and I don't know the others, so, so to talk about the geographic, would that be a reason for
replacing, if we would amend the motion?
Well, I think if you want to look at the geographic representation, you should look at the attachment. We're spending a lot of time on this. Look at the attachment and you will
This
see.
is what you get with the Brown Act. We don't discuss this ahead of time.
Oh, I know, but you could have looked at the attachment that shows where everybody is from currently. And it includes their applications.
I did too.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a motion and a second. And I'm not inclined to amend my motion, so if that'll move you along.
It has to fail and then you can make another motion.
Okay, well, any other comments? We can go and vote. Go to a vote. Did you get what the motion is? Yeah, the motion. That was simple. That was simple.
Okay, I would like to make a motion.
Oh, I see.
The reds just
Can't
start showing
see
up.
it.
Those
Okay.
are
Okay.
excellent.
Okay.
So I move to nominate Elizabeth Bettis, Marina Ramos, and Deshaun Woolridge. Bing is
Yeah, you
second.
have the
Someone
same
else can
rights
make
as
a motion.
anybody else, so you have to-
Second.
Okay, here we go. Okay, we have a first and a second.
My hesitancy in removing Mr. Severy is that he is a attorney
He's gonna
who.
sue us.
Or so. Get ready, Mr. Shanky. That's right.
And although, folks have different opinions about attorneys, Mr. Severy has provided thoughtful analysis to some of the CSBA policies when we're at delegate assembly, as well as provided input to us for our CCC SBA bylaws and considerations. And he's a very thoughtful and considerate person. That's not to say that Deshaun is not, but that has been a valuable attribute for the work that I've been involved with on the delegate assembly.
Shall I amend the motion? Let's try it.
Better hurry,
Marina
I have to do a
Ramos,
meeting extension
Richard
pretty soon.
Severy, and Deshaun Woolridge.
And I'm sorry, who was the?
Marina Ramos, Richard Severy, and Deshaun Woolridge.
I know, it would feel really random here.
Diverse representation.
Second.
Okay, so did Brian make second of the first motion? Is that, is Shanky still here? Second?
Yeah, he's there.
Because it failed, didn't it?
Because it's not the big-
We're amending. But we're amending.
No, we didn't amend. Oh, yeah, we did amend.
I amended my own motion,
She amended her motion.
and Brian seconded.
Okay. All right, so we have a first and a second. Any other comments?
You're really putting me on the spot. It's important for all of you when we are at events to speak with your delegates
Yes.
and your representatives
I agree.
at delegate assembly.
Mine was not a random nomination. It was well thought out. Just so you know.
Well, mine was too.
Okay, that's okay.
All right, we'll go to the vote. And that passes 4-1-0-0. Thank you.
Ms. Bettis did a lot of hard work.
Now you tell me.
Sure she did. It's good to bring in a little bit of new as well.
Okay, we do have documents to sign, no further, we are adjourned.
We are.
Oh.